The company chartered a plane for a team-building trip to Sanya. Out of 47 people, I was the only one forgotten. A colleague even posted a photo of an empty seat in the group chat, with the caption, "What a shame, someone just doesn't fit in." I didn't reply. I turned off my phone, pulled the covers over my head and slept for 13 hours. When I woke up, 164 missed calls, latest text message. I was wrong. Please answer the phone. I scratched my head. What? I just took a nap, and now the company is on the verge of bankruptcy. Friday, 3:30 p.m., the office erupted. The flight tickets are out. Check your inbox now. A Seaview hotel in Sanya Bay, with a double room including a bathtub. I heard it includes a private beach and a bonfire party. I sat at my desk, staring at the project document on the computer screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Without typing a single word, the closing section of the Lingyun plan, Phase 4 still needed the final 300 words of execution details. Ji Heng, have you received your flight ticket? Suka's head popped over the partition, her bangs pinned back by a headband, revealing a round, smiling face. I opened my email inbox. The inbox was completely empty. No, Suka was stunned. Try refreshing. It was sent to the whole company. No way you missed it. I pressed F5, empty. Suka pulled back. I heard the rustling sound of her typing messages on the other side of the partition, probably asking HR. 5 minutes later, she leaned over again. Her expression changed. Ji Heng, Fong Ying said your name isn't on the list. My fingers finally landed on the keyboard, clattering away as I hammered out the last 300 characters. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, Suka's voice rose half a pitch. A list of 47 people, and you're the only one missing. You call that, oh, maybe they just left me out, left you out. You think Fong Ying would leave anyone out? I didn't say anything, of course Fong Ying wouldn't leave anyone out. Fong Ying works in HR and runs in the same dinner party circle as Qian Haoming. The two of them always sit together at lunch, chatting so loud the whole floor can hear. Last month, at the department dinner, Fong Ying arranged the seating, and put me in the corner right by the restroom. I said it was fine, and she smiled, saying, you don't like socializing anyway, and it's quiet over there, so, missed something, didn't miss anything, I'll go talk to Zhou Zheng. Suka's chair let out a harsh scraping noise. Don't. I pressed Ctrl+S to save the file. Everything's already scheduled. Adding someone last minute is a hassle. What do you mean, a hassle? You are part of this department. Who wrote Phase 4 of the Lingyun proposal? You did. Without you, there would be no Jiahong Group deal. The plan belongs to the entire team. Ji Heng. I took off my glasses and wiped them. There was a fingerprint on the lens that just wouldn't wipe clean. Suku, forget it. Suka stared at me for 5 seconds, her lips pressed tightly together. She seemed to want to say something, but in the end she swallowed her words and sat back down heavily in her seat. At 4 in the afternoon, people in the office gradually started packing up. The wheels of rolling suitcases rumbled across the floor, zippers of makeup bags whirred, and the smell of sunscreen filled the air. Qian Haoming stood up from his seat, stretched, and draped his suit jacket over his arm. As he passed by my desk, he paused for a moment. Ji Heng, aren't you packing up? My hands didn't leave the keyboard. No. There was an affected surprise in his voice, as if he'd just heard something particularly novel. Oh, come on, it's a company-paid trip, Sonia, and you're not going. I looked up at him. The smile at the corner of his mouth was the one I knew all too well. The curve held precisely between friendly and sarcastic, equally poised to advance or retreat. I'm not on the list, really. He blinked. Then Fong Ying must have gotten it wrong. You should go talk to her. Maybe it's not too late. As he said this, his voice was just loud enough for 3 or 4 colleagues nearby to hear. A few glances swept over and quickly looked away. No one responded. Qian Haoming smiled and patted me on the shoulder. Take care of your shift. Then, thanks for your hard work. He left. The sound of the suitcase's wheels faded into the distance. 10 minutes later, I was the only person left on the entire floor. The fluorescent lights buzzed. The central air conditioning vent was blowing cold air right at the back of my neck. I packaged the final draft of the Lingyun solution Phase 4 and uploaded it to the project team's shared drive. File name, Lingyun_solution_phase4_final_0412. Then I shut down my computer, leaning back in my chair. I stared at the ceiling for a while, there was a water stain on the ceiling, a bit crooked in shape. It had been there for 3 months, and no one had fixed it. My phone buzzed, the company group chat. I glanced down. Fang Ying had posted a selfie on the airport bus, head tilted, flashing a peace sign. Off I go. Here comes Sonia. Below, a string of replies. Go for it. Seafood hot pot. Wait for me. My luggage is overweight. Ha 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 ha. Then it was Qian Haoming. He posted a photo. Inside the plane cabin, an empty window seat. The sunshade was half pulled, letting in a slanted ray of light. Caption: too bad someone doesn't play along. Doji face. A few ha 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 emojis followed. Someone replied with a facepalm emoji. Someone replied, just not meant to be. No one asked who was supposed to be sitting in that empty seat, or rather, everyone knew. My thumb hovered above the screen. I typed 3 characters, then deleted them. The glow from the screen reflected off my lenses, bright white. I held down the power button. Shut down. Press. The screen went black. I put my phone in the drawer, grabbed my coat, turned off the light, locked the door, and went downstairs. Old Zhang, the security guard downstairs, looked up at me and said, Xiao Ji, you're early today. Heard your team's team building trip is to Sonia. Yeah, then why are you on duty? Old Zhang grunted, oh, and didn't ask further. I got on my beat-up bike that drops its chain every 3rd pedal, and rode slowly through the evening rush hour traffic. The April breeze brushed against my face, neither cold nor hot. Passing by the convenience store at the entrance of my neighborhood, I bought a bottle of ergoto and a bag of peanuts, entered my apartment, a single room of 18 square meters, crammed full with a bed, a desk, and a wardrobe. The curtains were left by the landlord, thick, dark brown fabric. Once drawn, the room became as dark as night. I pulled the curtains shut, kicking off my shoes. Without undressing, I threw myself onto the bed. The spring mattress let out a mournful groan. Unscrewing the cap of the ergoto, I took a gulp. It was so spicy that my eyes narrowed. I tore open the bag of peanuts and tossed a few into my mouth. I chewed, salty. The sound of me chewing peanuts alone echoed loudly in the empty room. Crunch, crunch. The curtains blocked all the light, but I knew it was still light outside. The sun doesn't set in April until after 6:30. I'd drunk most of the bottle of ergoto. My head was starting to feel dizzy. I placed the wine bottle by the head of the bed and pulled the quilt over my head. Under the quilt, it was stuffy and dark. I took a deep breath. The quilt smelled of laundry detergent, with a bitter undertone. The image of that empty seat flashed through my mind. What a pity, someone just doesn't fit in. I turned over. Sleep washed over me in waves. So tired. I'd been working overtime until 2 a.m. every day for a whole week. The Lingyun plan went through 17 revisions in its 4th phase, and my eyeballs feel like they're about to fall out of their sockets. At the weekly meeting, Qian Haoming presented the plan with dramatic cadence, using flashy, overdone slides. Zhou Zheng sat next to him, nodding repeatedly, and said, Haoming, this plan is solid work. Qian Haoming said, oh, it's nothing. The team deserves the credit. The team, from phase 1 to phase 4 of the Lingyun plan, every word, every slide, every data model, it was all me. Thinking about that only made the drowsiness worse. Too exhausted to even have the energy to be angry. Forget it, just sleep. I closed my eyes, and within 2 seconds, I was completely unconscious. Over the next 13 hours, without having any idea what was happening, the world outside exploded. 2. Sonia Phoenix International Airport. It was 6:40 p.m. when we landed. The setting sun dyed the runway orange-red, and the sea breeze, thick with salty moisture, seeped in through the gaps in the porthole. Qian Haoming was the first to stand up, opening the overhead bin and pulling down his Samsonite suitcase, nearly hitting a colleague in the back row. Sorry, he apologized with a smile, but his fingers were already busy posting on moments. Sonia Team Building Day 1, with the best team ever. Sun coconut tree. The accompanying photo was of the sunset outside the cabin window. He adjusted the filter twice, maxing out the saturation. Let's go. The bus is waiting outside. Fang Ying's voice came from the front, a small flag with the company logo in her hand. 47 people poured out of the airport, laden with bags and chattering noisily. Su Ke walked at the very back, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. Before boarding the plane, she had sent Ji Heng one last message. Are you really not coming? I can talk to Zhou Zheng for you. There was no reply. Now when she checked, the other party has powered off. She stuffed her phone into her pocket, took a deep breath, and caught up with the group. The bus drove for 40 minutes before arriving at the hotel, an ocean view room. Pushing open the balcony door, the sound of waves rushed in, carrying a briny scent. In the lobby, Fang Ying called out names while handing out room cards. When she finished, all 47 were accounted for, not one more, not one less. No one mentioned the empty seat, or rather, it might have crossed someone's mind for a fleeting moment, but it was quickly swept away by the Sanya sea breeze and the free buffet dinner. Dinner was served at the hotel's second-floor buffet restaurant. Lobster, king crab, oysters, salmon, piled up like small mountains. Qian Haoming carried a plate heaped high with seafood and sat down next to Zhou Zheng. Great choice of hotel. This lobster's got to be at least half a gene. Zhou Zheng was peeling shrimp, his hands covered in sauce. In his early 50s, his hairline was in a constant state of will it or won't it recede, so tonight he deliberately put on a baseball cap to cover the danger zone. Yeah, the admin team put a lot of effort into it. Right, that's what I told Fang Ying. If you're going to book something, book the good stuff. It's a team-building trip. We want the guys to enjoy themselves. Qian Haoming sucked on a crab leg and narrowed his eyes. Zhou Zheng put down the shrimp and wiped his hands. By the way, did Ji Heng upload the final draft of Lingyun Phase 4 to the shared drive? Qian Haoming's chopsticks paused for a moment. Yeah, it's up. I've looked it over. No issues. He hadn't looked at it at all. He doesn't even know the difference between the final draft and the 16th version. Jia Heng needs the proposal reviewed by Monday, so stay on top of it. Zhou Zheng said, don't worry, brother Zhou. Consider it done. Qian Haoming bit off a crab leg and sucked out the meat. The sweet, savory juice burst in his mouth. Sanya is really something else. Without Ji Heng sitting there silently, the meal was 3 times more enjoyable. That guy, he's truly capable when it comes to work, but eating at the same table with him makes you feel completely ill at ease. Ask him a question, and you get a grunt or two. Crack a joke with him, and he just stares at you like you owe him 8 million. It's fine if they don't come, the proposal has already been submitted anyway. At the same moment, a city 2,400 kilometers away from Sanya, launching media headquarters, 37th floor, CEO office. Qin Feng was reviewing a contract. At 42 years old, he had a buzz cut, black-rimmed glasses, and the top button of his shirt always fastened. On the table sat a cup of American coffee that had long gone cold. The phone rang. Caller ID. Su Xiaoting. Qin Feng's eyelid twitched. Su Xiaoting was the deputy general manager of Jiaheng Group's strategic development department and the direct point of contact for the Lingyun project. The contract with Jiaheng Group accounted for 37% of launching media's annual revenue, 37%, over a third. He answered the call. Mr. Su, hello. Qin. Su Xiaoting's voice sounded off, carrying a polite distance. Sorry to bother you on the weekend. No trouble at all. Go ahead. The thing is, something came up on my end. Our boss wants a progress presentation on Lingyun Phase 4 at 9 o'clock next Monday morning. Qin Feng tapped his fingers lightly on the desk. Monday at 9, no problem. I'll have the team prepare. Hold on, I haven't finished. Su Xiaoting paused. Our boss has one request. Go on. He was going to meet someone. Qin Feng's hand holding the phone tightened slightly. Who? The actual operator of the Lingyun solution. Our boss has reviewed all the draft documents from phases 1 to 3, including revision records, version logs, and the source files of the data models. Qin Feng frowned. He found that the creator and final modifier of all the documents were the same person. Su Xiaoting said, not Qian Haoming. The office fell silent for 2 seconds. That person's employee ID ends with 0217. Surname G. Qin Feng's fingers stopped tapping. Our boss said that for Monday's presentation, he will only listen to this person's surname G. If anyone else comes, he won't see them. Old Qin, I'm here. Qin Feng swallowed, his Adam's apple bobbing up and down. President Su, let me confirm the staffing arrangement. All right, do it as soon as possible. Su Xiaoting's tone was nonchalant. Oh, and one more thing. Go ahead. Stellar Media has been poaching talent lately. You know that, right? I hear they've set their sights on your core members. Our boss's take is this. If this guy's surname G goes to Stellar, We may need to reassess our future collaboration. On the Lingyun project, the call ended. Qi Feng picked up the cup of cold Americano, raised it to his lips, then set it back down, cold, bitter. He picked up his phone, scrolled through the company directory, and found Marketing Department. Zhou Zhang dialed, beep, 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 President Qin. Zhou Zhang's voice was mixed with the sound of waves and the clinking of glasses in a noisy crowd. Zhou Zhang, who actually wrote the Lingyun Solution Phase 4, the noise on the other end of the line seemed to suddenly quiet down. It was a team effort by the marketing department. I'm asking who actually handled it. The creator of the document draft, employee ID ending in 0217, surname G. 3 seconds of silence. Zhou Zhang's voice changed. Ji Heng, is he at the team building event or not? An even longer silence. Sweat began to form on the back of Zhou Zhang's neck. The evening breeze in Sanya was pleasant enough, but he suddenly felt a chill. He didn't come. What do you mean? Didn't come, it seems. His name was left off the list. Qi Feng's fingers gripped his phone case until his knuckles turned white. You took the entire marketing department to Sanya for a team-building trip, but left out the very person in your department who wrote the Lingyun proposal. Mr. Qin, this is from HR. Su Xiaoting from Jiaheng Group called me 10 minutes ago. Qi Feng's voice was flat, without a hint of emotion, which made it all the more terrifying. Jiaheng's CEO wants to hear the report on Lingyun Phase 4 this Monday. He specifically asked for Ji Heng himself. If anyone else goes, he won't see them. Zhou Zhang's hands began to tremble. On the other end of the phone, Fang Ying walked over with a cocktail in hand, grinning as she tried to clink glasses with him. Zhou Zhang waved his hand hard and pushed her away. Fang Ying's smile froze on her face. You need to contact Ji Heng right now. This very minute. Qi Feng hung up after saying that. Zhou Zhang stood, gripping his phone by the floor-to-ceiling window of the buffet restaurant, looking out at the night view of Sanya Bay, where moonlight scattered like broken pieces across the sea. He pulled up Ji Heng's number. He dialed. The number you dialed is powered off. He dialed again. The number you dialed is powered off. A third time. The number you dialed is powered off. Under Zhou Zhang's baseball cap, beads of sweat densely broke out on his forehead. He looked back at the bustling, lively restaurant. Qian Haoming was playing a finger-guessing game with a young woman from the admin department, drinking along with it. Whenever he won, he'd rock back and forth laughing. Whenever he lost, he'd renege and insist on a do-over. Fang Ying was at another table, head down, texting someone. 47 people, one was missing. Suddenly, the lobster meat in Zhou Zhang's mouth tasted off, fishy. 3:10:30 that night. Ji Heng's phone was still powered off. Zhou Zhang had been pacing the hotel corridor for 40 minutes, his leather slippers slapping against the floor. A colleague from the next room opened the door, glanced at him, and silently closed it again. The 15th dial. The number you dialed is powered off. He shifted position, squatting down with his back against the hallway wall, tilting his head up to stare at the fire sprinkler on the ceiling. This guy isn't going to do something stupid, is he? The moment the thought crossed his mind, he shuddered. No, Ji Heng's personality, quiet as it was, had always been pretty steady, but the whole company took a chartered plane for a team-building trip, and he was the only one left out. Someone even posted a photo of an empty seat in the group chat, accompanied by a mocking caption. Then he turned off his phone. Zhou Zhang slammed his phone down on his knee and swore. He dialed Su Ke's number. Su Ke picked up quickly. Brother Zhou, do you have Ji Heng's personal contact information? Home landline, WeChat, QQ, anything will do. Su Ke was silent for a moment. You finally remembered. Zhou Zhang felt a twinge of pain at his molar. Spare me the nonsense. Do you have it or not? I have his WeChat, but his phone is off so he won't receive it. Home landline. His rental doesn't have a landline. Emergency contact. What? The emergency contact number should be in his personnel file, but the file is in the company system. Then log into the system and check. Su Ke's voice carried a hint of helplessness. Brother Zhou, the company system requires the internal network VPN to log in, and the admin rights for the VPN. She paused. Both of them realized the same problem at the same time. The admin rights for the VPN are with Ji Heng. The hallway was silent for 3 seconds. Zhou Zhang slowly lowered the phone from his ear and stared at the time on the screen. 22:47. He pressed the phone back to his ear. What about the company's IT department? Wasn't it laid off last month? All that's left in IT is an intern named Xiao Chen, and he doesn't have admin rights. Ji Heng had set up the VPN system and server operations for IT before, and after IT left, Ji Heng has been the one managing all of that. Zhou Zhang's back pressed against the cold wall, a chill shooting up from his tailbone. Tell me, is there anything left in this company that Ji Heng doesn't manage? Su Ke hesitated for 2 seconds. The daily maintenance of the OA system, data backups for the project management tool, the complete source files for the Jiaheng project, the data analysis templates for the marketing department. Stop. Oh, by the way, I also have the admin password for the company website. He was the one who handled the last redesign too. Zhou Zheng rubbed the floor with the sole of his slipper. Su Ke, tell me the truth. Did Fang Ying deliberately leave him off the list? Su Ke did not answer directly. Brother Zhou, Ji Heng has been in the department for 3 years, from Phase 1 to Phase 4 of the Lingyun project, all the drafts, data modeling, competitive analysis, customer profiles. He did every bit of it himself. At every progress meeting, it was Qian Haoming who took the stage to present. At the year-end awards, it was also Qian Haoming who got the accolades. Ji Heng's name wasn't on the raise list. It wasn't on the team-building outing list either. At the end of the hallway, someone opened their room door to get some water. The faucet gushed for a moment, then fell silent. What do you think? Was that on purpose? Su Ke's voice dropped. Everyone knows it. Zhou Zheng clutched his phone, staying quiet for a long time. It wasn't that he didn't know, he knew, he just chose not to know. Qian Haoming was smooth in his dealings, could hold his liquor, charm clients, and pitch proposals brilliantly in meetings. Ji Heng was reserved, silent, unsociable, and never curried favor with the higher-ups. Who would you take out to represent the team? Anyone can do that math, but he forgot to account for another thing. Who actually did the work? Find a way to get in touch with him. Zhou Zheng stood up. If you really can't reach him, fly back first thing tomorrow morning to find him. Why the sudden urgency? Zhou Zheng opened his mouth, then closed it again. He didn't want to talk about Jiaheng Group, saying it would be an admission that with Ji Heng gone, the Jiaheng deal might fall through, and if the Jiaheng deal fell through, the company's annual revenue would be cut by a third overnight. Don't ask, just get in touch with him. He hung up the phone. 1 in the morning, Ji Heng's phone was still off. Zhou Zheng had sent 17 WeChat messages and 3 texts. All of them vanished into silence. He sat on the hotel balcony, letting the sea breeze wash over him in a daze. The waves lapped against the sand, each one like a hand slapping his face over, and then something bigger came. His phone suddenly started vibrating like crazy. It wasn't a call. It was the company's internal group, the Tech Ops group. He usually didn't check this group much. Most of the time, it was just IT intern Xiao Chen talking to himself. But tonight, Xiao Chen's message frequency went berserk. Xiao Chen, everyone, the company's main server is down. Xiao Chen, all business systems are completely paralyzed. OA is down, email is down, the project management system is down. Xiao Chen, can't access the shared drive either. All files. Xiao Chen, is anyone there? I'm just an intern. I can't handle this alone. Xiao Chen, at Zhou Zheng, at Qini Feng, at everyone. Xiao Chen, the server reported a hard disk array error. I checked the emergency manual, and it says, Xiao Chen, contact Ji Heng. Xiao Chen, GGE's phone is turned off. Xiao Chen, help. Zhou Zheng stared at the screen, watching Xiao Chen's messages pop up one after another. His eyelid twitched even faster than the messages arrived. The server crashed. This meant that all of the company's digital files became instantly inaccessible, including the final draft of the Lingyun Phase 4 proposal, including the full set of materials for Monday's presentation to Jiaheng Group. He fumbled to call Xiao Chen. Brother Zhou. Xiao Chen's voice trembled, on the verge of tears. I'm the only one on duty in the company. Every alarm light in the server room is flashing red. I don't know what to do. The last line on every page of the emergency manual says, if unable to resolve, contact Ji Heng. What about backups? Do we have off-site backups? Yes, there are cloud backups, but, Xiao Chen's voice shot up, the login key for the cloud backups is also with Brother Ji. When the last IT head left, They said everything was handed over to him. I don't have it. Zhou Zheng's hand went slack, the phone slipped through his fingertips and landed on the glass coffee table on the balcony with a dull thud. The sea breeze blew in, carrying grains of salt that hit his face. He slowly turned his head to look inside the room. The hotel bed was made with pristine white sheets, the pillows were soft and fluffy, and the mangoes in the fruit bowl looked vividly yellow and dripping with ripeness. Sonia, fucking beautiful. He picked up his phone and dialed Qin Yifeng's number. Mr. Qin, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Qin Yifeng's voice on the other end sounded as if he hadn't been asleep either. The server is down. A complete crash. Xiaochen can't handle it. All the system keys and contingency plans. He closed his eyes for a moment. All of them are in Ji Heng's hands alone. On the other end of the line, Qin Yifeng didn't bring the water glass in his hand to his lips. The water's surface was trembling. His hand was trembling. Have you gotten in touch with him? His phone is off. It's been over 10 hours. Qin Yifeng put down his water glass. The bottom struck the desk with a sharp crack. Are you fucking telling me that in a company of over 40 people, the server keys, business systems, and core project documents all rest on one person, and you left that person off the team building list? He turned off his phone and none of you thought it was strange. No one worried after a dozen hours without a word. Did you forget him, or did you push him out? Qin, listen to me. Qin Yifeng's voice went cold. Jiaheng Group needs to see Ji Heng on Monday. The servers must be back up tonight. If either of these things goes wrong, you, and your good brother Qian Haoming, can pack your things and get out together. The call ended. Zhou Zheng lowered the hand holding his phone. Outside the balcony, the night sky over Sonya was filled with stars. He felt every single one of them was laughing at him. He took a deep breath and started making phone calls. The first call, to Ji Heng, powered off. The second call, to Ji Heng, powered off. The third call, to Ji Heng, powered off. The fourth call, the fifth call, the sixth one. His fingers ached from dialing. So he switched hands. He kept calling non-stop until 4 a.m. He had made 43 calls. All phones were off. For 15 a.m., Zhou Zheng finally gave up on dialing. His phone was burning hot, the screen smeared with greasy fingerprints. He sat on the balcony, eyes bloodshot. A thin line of grayish-white had begun to show on the horizon in Sonya. Dawn comes early here. Someone knocked on the door. Who is it? It's me, Qian Haoming's voice. Zhou Zheng didn't open the door. Qian Haoming pushed the door open himself. The card sensor in the hallway was finicky. This hotel was only decent on the surface. Brother Zhou, what's going on? I only saw it after the group chat exploded. He was wearing a hotel bathrobe, his hair a mess like a bird's nest, but his eyes were clear and awake. Zhou Zheng gave him a look. Jiahui Group wants to hear the report on Lingyun Phase 4 on Monday. Yeah, I know that. Isn't the proposal already? They want to see Ji Heng. Qian Haoming stopped mid-motion. He was twisting the cap off a bottle of water, his fingers frozen motionless on the cap. What? Jia Heng's boss checked all the draft records of the documents and found that from Phase 1 to Phase 4 of the Lingyun proposal, the actual person in charge was Ji Heng. He specifically asked to see Ji Heng himself. Qian Haoming's Adam's apple bobbed, the cap was cross-threaded, water spilled out, ran over his fingers, and dripped onto the carpet. He didn't wipe it. It must be a misunderstanding. The proposal was done by the team. Qian Haoming. Zhou Zheng's voice was flat and devoid of warmth. Jiaheng checked the document version logs. The creator, modification time, save records, and IP address for each draft all pointed to the same employee ID. Take a guess whose it was. Qian Haoming did not answer. The bottle of mineral water slipped from his hand and hit the carpet with a thud, water spilling out over the floor. Additionally, Zhou Zheng continued, the server crashed tonight. All business systems are down. The backup keys and contingency plans are in Ji Heng's hands. Qian Haoming stood still. His feet were planted on the carpet soaked with mineral water. The front of his hotel bathrobe loosened, revealing a stretch of collarbone dotted with goosebumps from the air conditioning. Did he answer his phone? It's off. Since when was it turned off? Since you posted that photo of the empty seat in the group chat. Qian Haoming's lips moved slightly. He wanted to say something, maybe a defense, maybe an explanation, maybe, I was just joking, but in the end, nothing came out, because he himself knew, it wasn't a joke. That photo, That line, what a shame, someone's not fitting in, when he posted it, he knew perfectly well whose empty seat it was. He also knew perfectly well that Ji Heng could see it. He wanted Ji Heng to see it, to let Ji Heng know, you are excluded, while we revel, at this moment, at 4 a.m., in a hotel room in Sanya. The air conditioner hummed. Qian Humming stood in a puddle of mineral water, his toes curling into the damp carpet. Brother Zhou, what should we do about this? Zhou Zheng did not. Look at him, are you asking me? He stood up, walked into the room, and began packing his luggage. Book the earliest flight back. You too, everyone is going back. You, me, and Fang Ying, the three of us go back first. The rest will continue the team building without making a fuss. Qian Humming stood at the balcony door, opening his mouth as if to speak. Mr. Qin, what did he say? Zhou Zheng paused his hand for a moment. He stuffed a folded shirt into the suitcase and snapped the locks shut. He said, if we mess this up, both of us are out. 5:40 a.m. There weren't many people in the departure hall of Sanya Phoenix Airport. Zhou Zheng, Qian Humming, and Fang Ying sat on the waiting chairs, each lost in their own thoughts. Fang Ying hadn't had time to fully remove her makeup. A smudge of mascara had clumped into a black blotch at the corner of her eye. She asked in a low voice, what exactly happened? Dragging me out in the middle of the night, how did you arrange the team building list? Zhou Zheng stared at the departure gate screen. Fang Ying was taken aback. What do you mean? Why isn't Ji Heng on the list? Fang Ying's gaze flickered. You know what he's like. He's not a team player, doesn't talk to anyone. Putting him in, what I asked. Zhou Zheng turned to look at her, is why didn't you put him on the list? Fang Ying's mouth snapped shut. Her fingers twisted the corner of the boarding pass, creasing the paper. That's what Qian Humming said. Qian Humming next to him whipped his head around. What do you mean I said it? You said, don't bring him, everyone will have a bad time if we bring him. Did you say that or not? Enough. Zhou Zheng interrupted them. He looked down at his phone. He was calling Ji Heng again. Call number 58. The number you have dialed is powered off. He tucked his phone back into his pocket, closed his eyes, and leaned against the seat. One thought kept running through his mind. Nothing's happened to Ji Heng. Right, a person who's been ostracized by the entire team, then turns off his phone for over 10 hours without a word. He opened his eyes and dialed Su Ku's number. Su Ku, do you have Ji Heng's home address? I do. What are you going to do? My flight lands at 8. Look up the address for me and send it over. I'll go straight there after landing. You're going to his place. I can't find him at a time like this. The only way is to show up at his door. Su Ku fell silent for a moment. Brother Zhou, when you go, be nice about it. Zhou Zheng didn't reply. I mean, Su Ku said, his voice a little muffled, don't jump straight into business. At least ask how he's doing. The call ended. Zhou Zheng gripped his phone while sitting in the airport waiting chair, looking up at the indicator lights on the ceiling. Green. Flight CA 1378 to the city is now boarding. He stood up. Meanwhile, launching media headquarters. Intern Xiao Chen was alone in the server room, staring at a row of cabinets with flashing red lights, tears streaming down his face. On the table in front of him lay an emergency manual, and on the open page, a line was highlighted with a fluorescent marker. It was Ji Heng's handwriting, neat and square. If you're seeing this page, things have already gotten serious. Don't panic. First, run the hard drive diagnostics as per the steps on page 37, and send me the error codes. My alternate contact information is on the last page of the manual. Xiao Chen frantically flipped to the last page. A mobile phone number was written on it. He quickly dialed it. Beep, beep, beep. The number you have dialed is powered off. Xiao Chen glanced at the number, then at the manual. This is Ji Heng's phone number, the same number. He flipped through the manual over and over, looking for any other contact information. There was nothing, only that number. Xiao Chen hugged the manual and squatted in front of the cabinet, the red light flashing on his face. Brother Ji, he sniffled. Please turn on your phone. 6:12 in the morning. Qin Feng sat in his study at home, with two windows open on the computer screen in front of him. One was the contract document for Jiaheng Group, the annual cooperation amount, 24 million. The other was the employee roster of Launching Media. He pulled up the marketing department's directory and found the name he was looking for. Ji Heng, employed for 3 years and 2 months, position, marketing department planning specialist, job grade, P4, monthly salary, 9,200 RMB. Qini Feng's fingers lingered on the number 9,200 for a long time. A P4 planning specialist earning 110,000 renminbi a year, he independently managed the entire solution package for a core client worth 24 million RMB. He maintained the company's entire IT infrastructure, and then was forgotten on the team building roster. Qini Feng closed his laptop screen, he leaned back in his chair, took off his glasses, and pressed his fingers against his brow. My temples are throbbing. He opened his laptop again and pulled up another file. Xingchen Media, the second largest player in the industry and launching media's biggest rival. 3 days ago, at an industry forum, he had heard a rumor, Xingchen Media was poaching talent. He hadn't thought much of it then, but now, he opened the industry social platform and searched for Xingchen Media hiring. The first result, Jiang Yu, CEO of Star Media, posted an update 2 days ago, looking for a data-driven marketing genius. If you're the one I'm looking for, no joke. Triple your salary, lead a team, get partner options, DM me. Someone commented below, found a goldmine, Mr. Jiang. Jiang Yu replied with a smiley face. Qini Feng stared at that smiley face for a long time. He picked up his phone, dialed Ji Heng's number. The number you dialed is powered off. He put his phone back on the table, then he dialed old Zhang, the company security guard. Old Zhang, let me ask you, did you see Ji Heng when you were getting off work yesterday afternoon? Oh, Shao. Ji, yeah, I saw him. He left work pretty early, just before 5, said he was on duty. When he left, what was his state? What was his state? Old Zhang thought for a moment. Just normal, left on that beat-up bike of his. Oh, right. He stopped at the convenience store and bought a bottle of liquor. What liquor? Erguotu. Qini Feng hung up the phone. A young man living alone, excluded from the group, bought a bottle of Erguotu, went home, turned off his phone. No word from him for more than 10 hours. Qini Feng stood up. He picked up the car keys. 7:40 in the morning. Sunlight squeezed through the gap in the curtains, drawing a thin golden line on the floor. I turned over, face buried in the pillow, the taste in my mouth dry and bitter. The after-effects of the erguotu were kicking in. I opened my eyes groggily. That water stain on the ceiling was still there. I stared at it for 3 seconds, my mind going completely blank. Then, I snapped awake. It's Saturday, no work today. I closed my eyes again, ready to go back to sleep, but my stomach had other ideas. A spasm rose up from the pit of my stomach, and a sour taste flooded my mouth. I struggled to sit up, stepped barefoot onto the cold floor, stumbled into the bathroom, and knelt by the toilet, dry heaving twice. Nothing came out, just dry heaving. I washed my face, and the ice-cold water finally woke me up completely. In the mirror, the person staring back had dark circles under his eyes, chapped lips, and disheveled hair sticking up. I picked up my toothbrush. While brushing, it suddenly hit me. My phone was still in the drawer. How long had it been off? I glanced at the clock on the wall. 7:45. I shut it down around 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. 14.5 hours. After brushing my teeth and rinsing my mouth, I walked over to the table and pulled open the drawer. The phone lay quietly inside, the screen dark. I held down the power button. The startup animation spun for a few seconds. Then, the screen lit up. Text messages, WeChat notifications, missed calls, all flooded in at once, and my phone vibrated in my hand like a pile driver. I almost dropped it. I put the phone on the table and watched it buzz and jump all by itself. It kept jumping for a full 40 seconds. I glanced down. Missed calls, 164. I blinked once. 164. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. 164 missed calls. Zhou Zheng called 74 times. Qini Feng called 31 times. Fang Ying called 12 times. Qian Haoming called 8 times. Su Ke called 16 times. Xiao Chen came with 19 people. There are also 4 unfamiliar numbers. Unread WeChat messages, 387. Text messages, 22. I picked up my phone and checked the texts first. The earliest one was from last night at 10, sent by Zhou Zheng. Ji Heng, answer your phone. It's urgent. 11 o'clock. Ji Heng, it's me, Zhou Zheng. Something's gone wrong at the company. It's urgent. 1 in the morning. Ji Heng, please, turn on your phone. 3 in the morning. Bro, I know I was wrong about the team building thing, but this is a real emergency. You can yell at me or hit me. Just pick up the phone. 4:30 in the morning. Ji Heng, I'm already at the airport, flying back this morning. Are you home? Are you okay? 6 in the morning, from Chinifeng. Ji Heng, this is Chinifeng, CEO of the company. Please contact me as soon as possible. It's very important. 6:30, Chinifeng. I'm already on my way to your address. Don't worry about any work issues. Let's talk in person. 7 o'clock. From Shaochen, Ji Gu Ji Gu Ji Gu Ji Gu Ji Gu, the server is dying. Help. 7:15. Su Ku, Ji Heng, are you okay? Don't scare me. Zhou Zhang and President Qin are both looking for you. Just send a message back. Even one word is fine. The latest one. At 7:30. Zhou Zhang, dear Lord, I was wrong. Pick up the phone, please. I put the phone down, walked to the window and pulled the curtains open. Sunlight burst in, making me squint. The breakfast stall downstairs was already open. Youtiao were tumbling in the oil, and steam rose from the soy milk. An old man pushing a tricycle was selling tea eggs. I turned around and glanced at my phone, which was still vibrating intermittently on the table. 164 missed calls, 387 WeChat messages, 22 text messages. I scratched my head. Wait, I only took a nap. What could have possibly happened at the company? I thought for 3 seconds, and then, I put on my slippers, grabbed my keys, and went downstairs to buy a basket of soup dumplings, a bowl of tofu pudding, and 2 fried dough sticks. The shop owner glanced at me and said, "You're up late today, young man." "Yeah, got a good night's sleep. You look a bit pale. Ease up on the drinking." "Will do." I carried my breakfast upstairs and set it on the table. I split open the chopsticks, picked up a soup dumpling, bit through the wrapper, and the broth rushed out. So fresh. Picked up the phone while eating, replied to Suku first. "It's fine, I'm going to sleep." 3 seconds after sending, Suku's reply popped up, a string of exclamation marks. "Ji Heng, you finally turned your phone on. You have no idea how scared the whole company was. Zhou Zhang and President Qin are already on their way to your place." I almost spat out the soup dumpling in my mouth. President Qin, Chinifeng, the CEO, what is he doing at my place? Before I could reply, the phone rang. Zhou Zhang, I hesitated for 2 seconds, then I answered. "Ji Heng." His voice blasted through the receiver into my ears, hoarse and desperate. Trembling with the aftermath of a near disaster, "You finally turned your phone on." I held the phone 2 centimeters away from my ear. "Brother Zhou, what's up? What's up? What's up? You were off the grid for 14 hours. Do you know what happened in those 14 hours? "No, I was sleeping." There was silence on the other end of the line, about 5 seconds of silence. Then Zhou Zhang's voice came through again, but it had changed. No longer an enraged roar, but something close to a pleading tone. "Ji Heng, don't move, just wait at home. I'm in a taxi now. I'll be at your place in 20 minutes. President Qin is also on his way. Don't you dare leave. Wait until we get there to talk." "What exactly happened?" "The boss of Jiahan Group wants to see you. The servers crashed. Stars Media is poaching you." My chopsticks, holding half a soup dumpling, stopped in midair. "What? 20 minutes? You stay put." The call ended. I looked at the chopsticks in my hand, then at the soup dumpling. The broth was dripping down the chopsticks. I shoved the soup dumpling into my mouth, chewed, and swallowed. Then I looked down at myself. A wrinkled t-shirt, the same one from yesterday, plaid pajama pants, blue and white flip-flops, hair like a bird's nest. In the room, the bed was unmade. Last night's empty ergoto bottle still lay by the headboard, and peanut crumbs were scattered all over the pillow. "The CEO is coming to my place." My place is 18 square meters. I looked around and took a deep breath. "Forget it, let him come." I picked up another soup dumpling. 6:22 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. 3 people were standing outside. Zhou Zheng stood at the front, still wearing that baseball cap. It was crooked, probably knocked askew while running over. His eyes were bloodshot. 2 buttons of his shirt collar were undone, and his expression hovered somewhere between seeing a loved one and meeting a creditor. Behind him was Chinifeng, my CEO. In the 3 years I had worked there, we had exchanged no more than 10 sentences. The longest exchange was in the elevator, when he asked, "Which floor?" and I said, 12. Now he stood at the doorway of my 18 square meter rental apartment. The circles under his black-rimmed glasses were even darker than mine, and though his shirt was neatly buttoned, it was wrinkled. He had probably been in the car for a long time. Behind him stood another person, Qian Haoming. He was the last face I wanted to see, but at that moment, the expression on that face was quite something. The instant he saw me, his lips moved, but he said nothing. His gaze slid off my face and swept across the room behind me. A 180 square foot single, a 1-2-meter bed, a folding table, a short cabinet that couldn't even hold all the clothes, and a nearly dead pot hose on the windowsill. 2 patches of wallpapered plaster were peeling up. His Adam's apple bobbed once. "Come in." I shifted aside. The 3 of them filed in. 18 square meters suddenly felt cramped with 3 big men. Standing inside, there was only one chair. I gave it to Qinifeng. Zhou Zheng leaned against the wall. Qian Haoming stood in the corner, not knowing whether to step forward or back. "Ji-heng," Qinifeng began. His voice wasn't as harsh as it had been on the phone. Instead, there was a deliberately subdued gentleness. "Let me start with an apology. The team building incident was a management oversight by the company." I stood by the window, the sunlight at my back. Qinifeng glanced at me. He was clearly unaccustomed to being dismissed with a single but he held back. "There are a few urgent matters I need your help with." "I know." Brother Zhou mentioned some on the phone. I picked up the half-finished bowl of tofu pudding from the table and stirred it with a spoon. "Jiaheng's boss wants to see me. The servers have crashed, and Xingchen Media is trying to poach me." When I got to the last point, I noticed that both Zhou Zhang and Qian Haoming's expressions had changed. "Star Media," Zhou Zheng pressed. Qinifeng raised his hand to stop him. "We'll talk about Star Media later." He looked at me. "Ji-heng, first things first. The server, Xiao Chen, has been waiting at the company all night. Can you handle it remotely?" I took a sip of the diffuno. It was warm, with a light savory flavor from the gravy. "Yes." I put down the diffuno, walked to the desk, and opened my old laptop. The one I'd been using for 4 years. Power on, log into the VPN. I'm the only one with the admin account. Remotely connect to the company server. A string of red error codes pops up on the screen. I glance at it. OneDrive in the RAID 5 array failed, triggering a degraded mode. Then someone, probably Xiao Chen, tried to reboot, and during the rebuild another drive also threw an alarm. I dial Xiao Chen's number. "Brother G." Xiao Chen's voice shifts from trembling to a howl. "You're finally here. Stop crying. Listen to me." "I'm not crying. I just, got something in my eye." "Go to the server rack, 3rd row, 2nd from the left." "I'm there. There's a small drawer at the bottom. Pull it hard toward you." "Yes." "There's a USB drive inside." "Got it. Plug it into the ops terminal next to it. There's a script on the USB drive called recovery_v3sh. Double-click to run it." "Wait, what's the password?" "Capital J, lowercase h, underscore, 0217. Xiao Chen clattered away at the keyboard. It's running. The progress bar is moving. It'll take about 40 minutes. Keep an eye on it. If a yellow pop-up appears, take a screenshot and send it to me." "Got it. Brother G, I love you." "Get lost." I hung up the phone. I looked up. 3 pairs of eyes were staring at me. Qinifeng's expression was complicated. Zhou Zheng's mouth was half open. Qian Haoming's complexion could be described in 4 words. Multicolored. "That USB drive," Qinifeng began. "Did you prepare it in advance?" "Yeah. When the server was upgraded 6 months ago, I wrote an emergency recovery script and left a copy in the equipment rack. 6 months ago, when the head of IT was leaving, he told me during the handover that the server was getting old and the RAID might fail, so I prepared it ahead of time." Qinifeng took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Does Zhou Zheng know about this?" Zhou Zheng shook his head. Qian Haoming also shook his head. His movements were stiff, as if his neck had rusted, so, Qinifeng put his glasses back on. "You, in the marketing department, in a planning role, have been doubling as half an IT operations person, no extra pay, and no one knows." I didn't respond. I finished the last bite of the jellied tofu. The bottom of the bowl was perfectly clean. "Ji-heng," Qinifeng sat up straight. "It's about Jiaheng. Their boss wants to hear the Lingyun Phase 4 project briefing at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and he specifically asked for you. Can you do it?" I uploaded the final draft of Lingyun Phase 4 to the shared drive before I left work yesterday. The shared drive is inaccessible right now. It will be accessible once the server is restored. will you be the one presenting the proposal? I glanced at Qian Haoming. He was staring intently at the tips of his own shoes. Wasn't Qian Haoming the one who always did the presentations before? The room fell silent for a beat. Qin Feng's gaze swept between me and Qian Haoming. Jia Heng specifically asked for you. How do they know it was me? Document version logs. The creator and modifier of all the drafts point to your employee ID. I leaned against the window frame. Sunlight streamed in from behind me, unable to reach the faces of the three people in the room. Qian Haoming finally looked up. Ji Heng, about that thing before. Fine, I cut him off, but I wasn't answering him. I looked at Qin Feng. I'll give the presentation on Monday. Qin Feng nodded. He stood up, nearly hitting the wardrobe in the 18-square-meter room. Then steadied himself. Go back to the company today and finish up the server issue. Prepare for Monday's presentation in advance. We'll talk about compensation and benefits separately later, okay? He took 2 steps toward the door, then stopped. Ji Heng, you live in such a small place all by yourself, enough to sleep in. Qin Feng's gaze swept over the 1-2-meter bed, the empty ergoto bottle by the headboard, and the peanut crumbs on the pillow. He didn't say anything more. He turned and walked out the door. Zhou Zheng followed behind him, but at the door he glanced back at me. He opened his mouth as if to speak. Ji Heng, brother Zhou, your cap is crooked. He was taken aback for a moment, then reached up to straighten his baseball cap. Then he left. The last one to step out was Qian Haoming. He stood at the door for 3 seconds. I watched his back. His shoulders were slumped, and his new sneakers were dusted with the gray dirt from the hallway of my rented apartment. He did not look back. The door closed. I stood at the door, listening to the footsteps of 3 people fading away down the hallway. Then I turned around and put away the bowls and chopsticks. As I washed the dishes, the tap water rushed against the bottom of the bowl with a loud splash. I stared at the flowing water for a while. The phone rang again, an unfamiliar number. I dried my hands and answered. Hello, may I ask if this is Mr. Ji Heng? Yes, I'm from the HR department of Star Media. Our CEO, Mr. Jiang Yu, would like to meet you. Is that convenient? I leaned against the kitchen counter. Sunlight streamed through the window onto the kitchen sink, where droplets of water refracted tiny specks of light. Is this afternoon okay? General Manager Jiang says he's free anytime. I looked down at my plaid pajama pants. Let's make it 3 in the afternoon. All right, I'll send you the address via text message shortly. Mr. Ji Heng. General Manager Jiang asked me to tell you that this meeting is purely for an open conversation. There's no need to feel any pressure. I hung up the phone. I stood there in my kitchen, a space where I could only turn around, not stretch my arms, and froze for a moment. Then I fished out the only shirt I had without wrinkles, white, with a slightly loose collar, but cleanly washed. I put on the shirt and looked in the mirror. The person in the mirror looked gaunt and tired, but his eyes were clear. I picked up my phone and replied to Suku, do you have an iron? 3 seconds later, you actually know what an iron is, Ji Heng. Something's wrong. What happened? Nothing. I'm meeting someone. 7:1:00 p.m. The office. As soon as the elevator doors opened, Xiao Chen popped up from behind his workstation. Popped, literally, as the kid must have bounced on his swivel chair. The wheels slipped, and he half fell, half lunged into the printer. Ji Gu. His eyes were red. His nose was red. He looked like a castaway just rescued from a deserted island. Ji Gu, you're finally here. The server is back up. The script ran through, all green. Yeah, let me take a look. I walked to the server room and checked the logs. The data is intact. Services are restored, and backup synchronization is normal. I updated the cloud backup key and left a copy for Xiao Chen. You'll be able to handle emergency recovery from now on. Here are the new password and operation documents. Print a copy and keep it in the drawer. Xiao Chen took the USB drive and documents with both hands, as solemnly as if receiving an imperial decree. Brother Ji, can you please stop shutting down the server from now on? No guarantees. After leaving the server room, I went to my own workstation. I turned on the computer, logged into the shared drive, and confirmed that the final draft of Lingyun Phase 4 was still there. I opened it and went through it from start to finish. The logic of the proposal was sound. The data model worked. The creative part. I stopped at page 7. This page was the core of the entire proposal, a dynamic ad distribution model. Based on user behavior data, it had taken me 2 months to design, 37 data dimensions, 8 user persona clusters, 4 sets of A/B testing plans. At last month's weekly meeting, when Qian Haoming presented this page, he glossed over it in one sentence. "We won't go into the technical details here, just know that it works." Then he spent 20 minutes talking about the new slide he had added. A gaudy brand tonality chart. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard for a few seconds, then I saved another copy of the file and began adjusting the PowerPoint for the presentation. If Jiaheng's boss wanted to hear from me, then I'd say it my way. 2:30 p.m. Su Ke sent a message from Sonia. "Jiheng, I heard you're going to meet with Star Media's people. You're faster with news than I am," Zhou Zheng told me. "He's losing his mind. Chief Qin is also anxious. They asked me to find out. You're not really leaving, are you?" I saved the PPT, then shut down my computer. "Let's see what they have to say first." "Jiheng, yeah, you deserve better, wherever you go." I looked at her profile picture on the screen, a meme of an orange cat raising its paw. "Thanks, oh, and your white shirt's collar is loose. Whatever you do, don't button the second button. Buttoning it makes your neck look short. When did you ever see me in a white shirt?" "Last year's annual party. You were standing in the corner drinking Coke, with your shirt buttoned all the way to the top. Made yourself look like you were meeting your partner's parents." "Don't button the second one. Gotta go." 3:00 p.m. Starry Media. It's on the same commercial street as Launching Media, 2 blocks away. I'd passed by countless times before, but never went in. The lobby is more impressive than Launching's. A real tree grows in the soaring atrium. The receptionist gave a polished smile. "Mr. G. Right. General Manager Jiang is waiting for you on the 28th floor." The elevator reached the 28th floor. And as the doors opened, a man in a black turtleneck was standing in the hallway, waiting for me. Jiang Yu, founder and CEO of Starlight Media. At 35, he is a well-known young powerhouse in the industry, having won 2 major awards last year. I had seen his photo at industry forums. In person, he is thinner, with higher cheekbones, and 2 fine lines appear at the corners of his eyes when he smiles. "Jiheng." He extended his hand. I shook it. His palm was dry and firm. "Come on, let's go to my office and sit. Don't be nervous. It's just a chat." His office faces south, with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the skyline of half the city. The sofa is dark gray and very soft. He handed me a cup of coffee, not instant, but pour-over, with a fruity acidity from the beans that I could actually smell. "Jiheng, let me ask you a question first." "Yeah." In Lingyun Solution Phase 2, there's a funnel model for user behavior paths, divided into 5 layers from awareness to conversion, and between each layer you added a decay factor. The algorithm for that decay factor, did you design it yourself? I was stunned for a moment. Lingyun Phase 2 was from a year ago. That decay factor algorithm took me 3 weekends to debug. I referenced 2 papers and an open source tool, and in the end modified the weight matrix myself. This detail, Qian Haoming skipped right over it when he was speaking. It wasn't mentioned in the client's presentation either. "How do you know that?" Jiang Yu smiled, picked up a tablet from the desk, flipped through a few pages, and turned it around to show me. On the screen was page 31 of the Lingyun Solution Phase 2. In the lower right corner was a small line of text, the data model source file path and a string of code comments. "A friend of mine works on the data platform at Jiaheng Group," he said. He showed me the underlying data logic of the Lingyun solution. He said the design of the decay factor is very clever. Few people in the industry use this method. He asked the person on Jiaheng's side handling the project, and that person said, "The person who actually built the model is named Jiheng." He set the tablet down and leaned back on the sofa. "I looked you up. You worked at Launching Media for 3 years, P4 level, with a monthly salary of 9,200 yuan. There was no mockery in his voice, but when those numbers came out, my fingers unconsciously clenched. "Jiheng, I want to invite you to Xingchen." He slid a document across the coffee table toward me. I glanced down at it. An offer letter, position, Senior Director, Marketing Strategy Department, Xingchen Media, annual salary. My eyes paused on that number for a second. 720,000 a year, including options and performance bonuses. The total annual compensation exceeds 1 million. That's nearly 7 times my current salary. I finished looking at the number, but didn't turn to the next page right away. Jiang, you didn't rush me either. He picked up his coffee, took a sip, and waited. The office was very quiet, except for the sound of the central air conditioning. Mr. Jiang, I began, does this offer have a deadline? 1 week. Just let me know by next Friday. I placed the documents back on the coffee table. I need to think about it, of course. He stood up and walked me to the office door. Ji Heng, there's something I want you to know. I stopped at the door. I've read your proposals carefully. Every data model, every user persona, every channel strategy. They're very solidly written. He looked me in the eye. You shouldn't be making just 9,200. I didn't say anything. As I walked out of the Stellar Media building, the April breeze blew in from the end of the street, carrying the green scent of plane trees. I stood by the roadside and looked up at the sky. It was a deep blue. My phone rang. Chinifeng, Ji Heng, what did Stellar Media say? They made an offer, 720,000 a year. There was a 5-second silence on the other end of the line. Come to the office, Qin. Yifeng's voice betrayed no emotion. Let's talk face to face. I just walked out of Xingchen. I know, I can see you from the roadside. I was taken aback for a moment and looked up across the street. A black sedan was parked on the other side of the road, its window half down, Qin Yifeng's face visible inside. Had he been waiting here all along? He pushed the door open and walked over. As he crossed the street, he nearly got hit by a delivery scooter. The rider braked hard and swore at him, but he didn't look back. He walked up to me. Ji Heng, be honest with me. Do you want to leave? I stood by the roadside, hands in my pockets. The April sun beat down on the asphalt, shimmering a thin layer of heat. President Qin, I've been with the company for 3 years. I've written 4 phases of the Lingyun proposal, taken over half of IT operations, and worked overtime until dawn every day. My monthly salary is 9,200, unchanged for 3 years. The year-end excellence award went to Qian Haoming. My name wasn't on the team building list. Qin Yifeng's lips tightened. It's not that I can't leave. He said nothing, but before I leave, I said, I want to finish presenting Jia Heng's report on Monday. I've been working on this proposal for 2 months. I want to present it myself. Qin Yifeng looked at me. His expression shifted several times within a few seconds. I couldn't tell exactly what those changes were, but in the end it settled into a look I had never seen on him before. He nodded. Go ahead. What comes after the presentation? We'll talk about it later. Fine. He turned, walked back a couple of steps, and stopped again. Ji Heng, the matter of 9,200 was my dereliction of duty. No matter what you decide in the end, I'm sorry. After he finished speaking, he crossed the street and got into the car. The car started and merged into the traffic. I stood by the roadside and watched for a while longer. Then I took out my phone and sent a message to Su Ku, the second button on. The collar is left undone. Su Ku replied instantly. Does it look good? Haven't looked in the mirror. Don't know. You are really something. So infuriating. I stuffed my phone back into my pocket and walked toward the subway station. Tomorrow is Sunday. I need to revise the Monday report PPT, the attenuation factor algorithm. This time I plan to cover it in 15 pages. Let's see if anyone still says. Let's skip the technical details. 8. Sunday, I spent the entire day revising a PowerPoint. In my 18 square meter rented room, I scrapped the flashy, 60-page version that Qian Haoming had made and started over from page 1. My version had only 34 pages, no gradients, no 3D text, no pointless brand tone images. Every data point had its source cited, every model had its calculation logic attached, every conclusion had corresponding A/B test results. At 4 p.m., I finished the last page, saved, shut down the computer. I lay my head on the desk and slept for half an hour. When I woke up, there was a new message on my phone. Qian Haoming, Ji Heng, is it convenient to talk? I stared at those words for 10 seconds. His profile picture was a photo of a golf course. He doesn't even know how to play golf. I replied with a single word, say something. After a minute, his message came. It was very long. Ji Heng, about what happened before. I know you're upset, regarding the team building list. I did tell Fang Ying to leave you off it, and I was the one who posted that photo in the group chat. Those were my mistakes. Another half-minute passed, but about the proposal, I'd like to explain. It's true that I've been the one presenting at the weekly meetings, but that was arranged by Brother Zhou. He felt I'm better at presenting and suited for the role. I wasn't trying to take credit from you. Another message came. The year-end award was also decided by voting, not something I manipulated. The last one. You can present Jiaheng's Monday report. I don't mind, but I hope you can keep the brand identity slide in the PPT. That's the only part one made myself. Just do me a favor, I've read it all, put the phone on the table and went to the kitchen to boil a kettle of water. When the water boiled, the lid clattered up and down, poured a cup of hot water and sat down. How much of what he said was true? The team building roster and photos. He admitted to that. That's a fact. No way to deny it. The proposal presentation was arranged by Zhou Zheng. Half true, half false. Zhou Zheng did initially say, Haoming, you present, but that was because Qian Haoming volunteered. He told Zhou Zheng, Jiaheng isn't good at presenting. He might mess up on stage. Better let me do it. Su Ke told me this. The year-end awards were determined by a vote. Technically true, but before the vote, Qian Haoming treated the whole department to hot pot. Everyone except me. As for the last point, keep the brand tone slide. I took a sip of hot water. The water was too hot, and my tongue went numb for a second. That brand tone slide, the design software's edit history showed it was outsourced. Qian Haoming never even touched it. I picked up my phone, typed a few words, then deleted them, typed a few more words, then deleted them. What finally got sent was just one sentence. The PPT is done, without the brand tone slide. After sending it, I put my phone down. The other side never replied. Sunday, 9 at night, Su Ke gave me a call. Jiaheng, there's something I need to tell you. Go ahead. Qian Haoming posted something on his moments in Sanya, then deleted it right away. But I took a screenshot. What did it say? He said, some people rely on technical skills to get by, but technology can never replace communication skills and leadership. Let's see how a P4 can impress Jiaheng's boss during Monday's presentation. I leaned back in my chair. The watermark on the ceiling looked like a crooked smiling face under the light. Hold on to that screenshot. What do you mean? I don't mean anything. See you tomorrow, Jiaheng, don't you? I hung up the phone, then I turned on my computer and went through the PPT again. 34 slides. I added one sentence on slide 23. The core algorithm formula for the attenuation factor. This formula, across the entire company, only I can explain clearly, including the head of data mid-platform at Jiaheng, the friend Jiang you mentioned. It took him 2 days just to understand what he was looking at. Was Qian Haoming trying to see how P4 would intimidate Jiaheng's boss? Fine. I turned off the computer, went to take a shower. After the shower, I glanced at myself in the mirror while drying my hair, thinner, but much more spirited. The white shirt hung behind the door. I couldn't borrow Su Ke's iron, but I sprayed it with water and pressed it under the mattress all night. It'll do. Monday, 7:30 a.m. I arrived at the office early. Hardly anyone was in the building yet. I ran into old Zhang, the security guard, in the elevator. Xiao Ji, I heard you didn't go to Sanya the other day. Yeah, so, did you have a good weekend to yourself? Pretty good. Got some solid sleep. Old Zhang chuckled a couple of times. You young folks, as long as you get to sleep, you're fine. I took the elevator to the 12th floor and walked to the conference room, the big conference room, the kind used for all-hands meetings, a long table, 14 chairs, and the projection screen had already been pulled down. I plugged in my USB drive and tested the projector setup. From the first page to the 34th, I double-checked every slide's transition timing, animation effects, and font size. Then I sat down and waited. At 8 o'clock, people began to arrive. Zhou Zheng came early. He had changed into a formal suit, his tie impeccably fastened. He wasn't wearing his baseball cap. I noticed his hairline was indeed in the danger zone. He walked over to me, hesitated for a moment, then patted me on the shoulder. Ready? Yes, from Jiaheng's side. Su Xiaoting is coming, along with the head of their data center, apparently. Their boss might show up too. Got it, Jiaheng. His voice dropped. Don't be nervous when presenting the proposal. Just treat it like your usual progress reports to me. I glanced at him. He usually plays video games when I give him work updates. Sure thing, Zhou. He gave an awkward smile and walked away. At 8:15, Qian Haoming arrived. He was wearing a dark blue suit today, with silver cufflinks and hair slicked back so perfectly it didn't move. He looked like he was about to accept an award. On stage, when he walked into the meeting room, he greeted a few colleagues. his voice half a pitch louder than usual. As he passed by me, he paused for a step. Ji Heng, yeah, good luck. He smiled. That smile, the curve of his lips, was exactly the same expression as when he posted a photo of an empty seat in the group chat. Good luck, he said, but his eyes said, let's see how you crash and burn. I didn't reply. 8:40. Qi Feng arrived. He was also wearing a suit today, all black, with a white shirt, a stark contrast to his usual business casual look. He scanned the conference room, and his gaze finally stopped on me. He walked over. Ready? Yeah, not nervous, not bad. He hesitated for a moment. Ji Heng, when was the last time you presented a project report? I thought about it. During the job interview. 3 years ago. The corner of Qi Feng's mouth twitched. Fine, I trust you. He walked over and took the head seat after speaking. 8:55. The meeting room door was pushed open. The people from Jiaheng Group had arrived. 9. Su Xiaoting walked in front. Early 40s, gray suit, gold-rimmed glasses. When he walked, his arms barely swung, the way long-time executives carry themselves, as if an invisible wire runs from the crown of their head to the soles of their feet, keeping them ramrod straight. 2 people were following behind him, a man in his 30s, holding a laptop and wearing a pair of sporty black-rimmed glasses, the head of the data middle office, and another person. I didn't know this one, but Qi Feng did. He sprang up from his chair. Mr. Shen, I noticed Qi Feng's tone had changed, from the calm composure of a CEO to the deference of a salesperson meeting a major client. Old Qin. The man waved his hand and smiled. I was passing by, so I thought I'd drop in. Passing by, the headquarters of Jiaheng Group is on the other side of the city, a 40-minute drive away, and that's called passing by. This man, Shen Weizhen, is the founder and chairman of Jiaheng Group, a figure with a net worth north of 10 billion. He looked younger than I had imagined, probably in his early 50s, wearing a dark gray polo shirt with no tie, but the moment he walked into the conference room, everyone's back straightened by a few centimeters, including Qian Haoming's. I saw his hand clench into a fist under the table, knuckles going white. Shen Weizhen swept his gaze around the conference room. His eyes lingered on each person's face for less than a second, like a ruler measuring, then setting them aside. Then he saw me. You're Ji Heng. I stood up. Hello, Mr. Shen. He walked over and sat down across from me. His chair was the closest to the projection screen. Take a seat. He smiled at me. No need to be nervous. I'm just here to hear the proposal. Xiao Su said your work is solid, and I got curious. Qi Feng added from the side. Ji Heng was the lead manager for Lingyun Solutions from Phase 1 to Phase 4. When the words, lead manager, came out, Qian Haoming's back stiffened slightly. I noticed, but I didn't look at him. Let's begin. Then, Shen Weizhen leaned back in his chair, hands crossed over his stomach. I pressed the remote. The first page of the PPT lit up, white text on a black background, no fancy design. Lingyun Solution Phase 4, Dynamic Marketing Strategies Based on Behavioral Data. Bottom right, Ji Heng. I began my presentation. The first 5 pages were the market overview. I took 3 minutes to cover the industry background, competitor dynamics, and the core issues Jiaheng is currently facing. No filler. Every sentence corresponded to a data point. Shen Weizhen didn't interrupt me. His eyes were fixed on the screen, his fingers occasionally tapping lightly on the desk. Pages 6 to 12. User personas. Jiaheng's core users can be divided into 8 clusters. I switched to a data chart. Not the flashy multicolored pie charts from Qian Haoming's PPT, but a scatter plot I had run using raw data. The 8 clusters were marked in different colors, with the core characteristics of each cluster labeled beside them. The head of Jiaheng's data platform sat up straighter. He pushed up his glasses and started typing on his laptop. The classification of these 8 clusters is based on a 4-dimensional cross-analysis: purchase frequency, average order value, category preference, and repurchase path. I turn to the next slide. The traditional RFM model only looks at 3 dimensions, but Jiaheng's users have a particular trait. I pointed to a small, isolated cluster in the upper right corner of the scatter plot. This cluster, representing 7% of total users, contributes 18% of profits. Their consumption path is not linear. They leave after price comparison, then return to complete a purchase within 48 to 72 hours due to social referrals. Shen Weizhen's fingers stopped tapping. How did you uncover this? I reconstructed the paths from 720,000 user behavior logs of Jiaheng from the third quarter of last year and identified this anomalous re-engagement pattern. Then I validated it with the fourth quarter data, 91% reproducibility. The head of the data platform accelerated his typing. Su Xiaoting leaned slightly toward Shen Weizhen. Shen Weizhen gave a slight shake of the head, signaling not to speak. Let me continue. Pages 13 to 22, the strategic plan. For this abnormal return cluster, I designed a three-stage engagement model. Switch to the flowchart. Stage 1, precise tracking. During price comparison, when users first browse but don't purchase, do not push promotional messages. That would fuel price comparison psychology. Instead, push user reviews and scenario-based content. Stage 2, social activation during the exit period. Leverage the user's social graph to trigger a return through a friend recommendation mechanism within 48 hours. Stage 3, time-limited lock-in upon return. Once the user returns, trigger a limited time offer, but the offer is conditional on the user proactively sharing the product to a social platform. Achieving secondary spread, I placed the expected data for all three stages side by side on a single chart. Based on backtesting from fourth quarter data, this model can improve the conversion rate of abnormal reflux clustering by 27%, and due to social fission effects, the overall RO is expected to increase by 1.4 times. Shen Weizhen leaned forward slightly. He didn't interrupt me, but his gaze shifted from "I'll hear this out" to "I'm seriously evaluating it." Then, page 23, the decay factor. This is the heart of the entire solution. For the three-phase model mentioned earlier to work, the core challenge is this: how to quantify a user's hesitation level during price comparison, so as to precisely determine the timing and type of content to push. I derived that formula. The screen was filled with mathematical symbols. The conference room fell silent. Qian Haoming's face showed an expression I had never seen before. Not embarrassment, not anger, but a blankness. The days of someone completely thrown off the track. He didn't even know what the formula meant. For this decay factor algorithm, I referenced the application of Markov chains in user behavior prediction, but made two key modifications. I began explaining the mathematical logic, from the state transition matrix to the probability distribution, and then to the introduction of time weighting. Every step was backed by data. Every parameter had its source annotated. 3 minutes into the presentation, Jiaheng's head of data platform stopped typing. He looked up and stared at the formula on the screen. Then he turned his head and glanced at Shen Weizhen. Shen Weizhen gave him a slight nod. The data lead raised his hand. "Mr. Jiaheng, how is the lambda value in this time-weighted function determined?" That was a highly professional question. If Qian Haoming were giving the presentation, he would say, "We can discuss this technical detail offline later." I said, "The lambda value was determined by grid search on Jiaheng's Q3 data, with a search range of 0, 0, 1 to 1 and a step size of 0, 0, 1. The final value, 0, 37, had the highest AUC. The complete parameter tuning process and cross-validation results are in Appendix C." I turned to the appendix, tables, curves, code screenshots, all perfectly clear. The data lead looked at it for 3 seconds. He closed his laptop, then he did something. He started clapping. A single person applauding in a quiet conference room. The applause was crisp, echoing off the walls twice. Su Xiaoting clapped along a couple of times. Shen Weizhen did not applaud. He leaned back in his chair and looked at me. "Jiaheng, Mr. Shen, how long did you spend on this proposal?" 2 months. "Are you alone?" "Alone." The meeting room fell silent again. Qin Yifeng's hands rested on the table, fingers interlaced, knuckles turning white. Zhou Zheng's gaze was fixed on the tabletop, not daring to look up. Qian Haoming, I finally glanced at him. He sat at the far end of the long table, the seat furthest from me. That blank expression was still on his face, but his lips began to press together involuntarily. His right hand rested under the table, fingers incessantly rubbing the seam of his suit trousers, the dark blue suit, the silver cufflinks, the perfectly set hair. It all looked like a costume now. "I'm done," I said. Shen Weizhen stood up. He walked to the front of the projection screen, turned his back to everyone, and stared at the data on page 34 for about 20 seconds. Then he turned around. "Qin, Mr. Shen." Qin Yifeng also stood up. For phases 5 and 6 of the Lingyun project, I'd like to continue our partnership. Qin Feng's breath caught for a beat, but there is one condition. Go ahead. Shen Weizhen raised his hand and pointed at me. From now on, all reporting and coordination for the Lingyun project will go only through him. His fingers moved away from me and swept in Qian Haoming's direction. Without pausing, no one else needs to come, Qian. Haoming's lips twitched. He pulled his hand out from under the table and placed it on the surface. His fingernails made a very soft scraping sound against the tabletop. No one in the meeting room was looking at him. Qin Feng walked over quickly. Ji Heng, wait a minute, I said. Everyone's eyes turned toward me. I looked at Shen Weizhen. Ms. Shen, I have a question. Go ahead. How did you know the proposal was mine? The document log only records employee IDs, not names. Shen Weizhen smiled. During the first phase of Lingyun, there was a revision record with a comment left behind. You wrote it. He turned away, scanned page 23 for a few seconds, and pointed to a line of small gray text in the bottom right corner. If this model works, I'll treat myself to a hot pot. I was stunned. It was 3 in the morning. 2 years ago, after finishing the 11th draft of Lingyun Phase 1, I was so hungry I could eat anything, and I casually wrote a line in the comments later. I forgot to delete it. When I saw that comment, Shen Weizhen said, I knew the person who made this project was a real person, someone who would promise themselves a hot pot at 3 in the morning. He looked at me. Did you treat yourself to it later? No, why not? Forgot. Shen Weizhen let out a hearty laugh. He patted me on the shoulder, with no light hand. Don't forget this time. After the meeting ended, the people from Jiaheng left. The people from launching media remained in the conference room. No one spoke. The air conditioner hummed. Qin Feng stood by the window, his back to everyone, both hands in his pockets. Zhou Zheng sat in a chair, his face buried in his hands. Qian Haoming still sat at the far end of the long table. His gaze was fixed on a glass of water in front of him, the surface of which reflected the light of the ceiling fluorescent lamp. He did not move a muscle. The silence lasted for about 30 seconds, then Qin Feng turned around. Everyone, leave now. His voice was very flat. Zhou Zheng, you and Fang Ying come to my office this afternoon. Zhou Zheng lowered his hand from his face. Okay, Qian Haoming, right here. You come too. Qian Haoming stood up. His chair slid back and hit the wall. There was a thud. He bent down to steady it, but his fingers slipped off the backrest. The chair was left crooked against the corner. He didn't try to straighten it again. He walked out of the conference room. He didn't look at me once, from start to finish. At the doorway, his right foot caught on the threshold. He didn't fall, but his shoulders slumped. In that moment, like a rope that had been taut too long and suddenly snapped, the door closed. Only Qin Feng and I were left in the conference room. He walked up to me. Ji Heng, Mr. Qin, can you tell me now? Are you leaving or staying? I looked down at the remote control in my hand. The PPT was still on the last slide. The gray note in the bottom right corner was still there. If this model runs successfully, I'll treat myself to hot pot. 2 years have passed. I never got to eat that hot pot. President Qin, I said, give me 2 days. 10, Tuesday afternoon, Qin Feng's office. He pushed a document over to me. Take a look. I looked down. Notice of position adjustment. Ji Heng, Senior Manager of the Market Strategy Department, reporting directly to the CEO. Annual salary, 650,000, plus stock option plan. I looked at that number, my fingers gently brushing the edge of the paper. This is the highest I can offer, Qin Feng said. Given the company's scale, I can't match Xingchen's 720,000. He paused, but there are a few conditions I can promise. First, you will have full responsibility for the Lingyun plan and all subsequent Jiaheng projects, and you can build your own team. Second, all future plans must credit the actual lead. Third, he took out another document from the drawer. The proposed disposition for Qian Haoming. I glanced at it. Demotion, transferred from marketing department head to administrative support, disqualified from year-end award evaluation. Fang Ying, written warning, transferred out of the human resources department. Zhou Zheng, quarters performance bonus forfeited, censured by circulating notice. I've already spoken with Qian Haoming and Fang Ying about their cases. Qin Feng placed the pen on the desk. As for Zhou Zheng, he's average in ability, but not a bad person. His problem is that he's afraid of trouble and doesn't dare to step in. Not that he deliberately tried to harm you. Still, he must be disciplined as deserved. I didn't sign immediately. President Qin, I have a question. Go ahead. if Jiaheng hadn't checked the document logs, if the server hadn't crashed that night, if Xingchen Media hadn't tried to poach me, would this adjustment notice still exist? Feng's fingers stopped on the desk, his lips pressed together. It was a question that didn't need an answer. I stood up. President Qin, let me think it over. He didn't stop me. As I walked out of the CEO's office, I ran into Qian Haoming in the hallway. He was leaning against the wall, holding a cardboard box. Inside the box were things from his desk. A mug, a few magazines, a photo frame. In the photo, he was at a banquet with a client, clinking glasses and laughing heartily. He saw me. The two of us looked at each other in the corridor for 2 seconds. He looked away first. Congratulations, he said. The voice was very soft, impossible to read any emotion. I didn't respond. He took a few steps toward the elevator, holding the cardboard box. Then he stopped. Jiaheng, yeah, the photo I posted in the group chat that day. His back was to me. I didn't mean to hurt you. He paused for a long time. I'm just jealous of you. I watched his back. The suit was still the same dark blue one, but it made him look a size smaller than he had a couple of days ago. I can't understand the plan you made, those data models, those formulas. I can't understand a single word of them. His voice echoed in the corridor. The only thing I can do is talk. Take your work and present it. If you present it well, the credit is mine. If you present it poorly, but it won't be poor, because your work is never poor. His hands tightened on the edges of the cardboard box. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop, because if I don't do this, I'm nothing in this department. The fluorescent lights in the corridor hummed. His shadow dragged across the floor, long and stretched. Jiaheng, you can call me wicked. You can call me stupid, but don't. His voice went hoarse. Don't pity me. He left. The elevator doors opened, then closed. The corridor fell silent again. I stood still, watching the elevator doors close. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, then I took out my phone. I looked up Starry Media's phone number, then I pulled up Feng's offer letter again. 2 numbers. Right in front of me, 720,000. 650,000. Wednesday morning, I made a decision. I called Jiang Yu, General Manager Jiang. Jiaheng, have you made up your mind? Yeah. When are you coming to report for duty? There was already a hint of a smile in his voice. I'm not coming. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. May I ask why? Because there's still one thing I haven't finished in launching. What thing? To treat myself to a hot pot. Jiang Yu was silent for 3 seconds, then he laughed, the sound coming through the receiver with a candid, unpretentious openness. Jiaheng, you're quite an interesting person. Thanks, I'm not withdrawing the offer. Whenever you change your mind, just contact me, okay? The call ended. I dialed Feng's number again. Mr. Qin, that adjustment notice. I'll sign it. There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the line. Jiaheng, thank you. A CEO saying thank you to a former P4. Pretty strange, but I didn't find it strange. Wednesday afternoon, I went back to my desk to pack up my things. Not resigning, just moving to a different workspace. From the corner of the marketing department to a spot by the window, sunlight could directly reach the desktop. Suka bounced over to help me move. Jiaheng, your new desk faces south. There's sunlight. Yeah, aren't you thrilled about it? Not bad. Can you at least give some reaction? Do you know the whole company is talking about you right now? The man behind the Lingyun plan. The ruthless guy who brought down the company in his sleep, who came up with those names. Xiao Chen. He posted something on the company intranet. The title is, She Cleared Her Throat. To Jiaheng, you can turn off your phone, but don't keep it off too long. My hair can't take it anymore. I put the last folder into the drawer. Sit down. The chair at my new workstation is better than the old one. No more squeaking. Sunlight streamed in through the window. Warm. On the desk sat a new mug, a gift from Xiao Chen, with a line printed on it, IT emergency contact. Jiaheng, backup contact. God, I stared at that line for 2 seconds. The corners of my mouth curved up, just slightly, beyond my control. My phone buzzed. The message from Zhou Zheng. Jiaheng, want to have lunch together? My treat. I replied with one word, sure. Another message popped up, from Su Ku. Let's go for hot pot after work tonight. You promised to treat yourself. I'm keeping track for you. I stared at the exclamation marks jumping on the screen, then I typed a line, fine, you pick the place. After sending it, I closed WeChat. I turned on the computer, the folder on the desktop. Soaring plan, phase 5, empty. I created a new document. The cursor blinked on the white page. One moment, one moment, one moment. The sunlight outside the window slowly moved over and fell upon my hand. The April sun was neither warm nor cool, just right. I placed my fingers on the keyboard. I began to type. That evening, at the hot pot restaurant, a copper pot, spicy broth bubbling, tripe dipped 7 times and lifted 8. Suku was rinsing fatty beef across from him. A Sichuan peppercorn stuck to the corner of her mouth. She chewed it as she spoke, hissing between words. Ji Heng, have you checked the company group chat? There are over 80 replies under Xiao Chen's post. Haven't looked. You're not even a little curious. Not curious. Don't you want to know what everyone said? I picked up a piece of tripe and cooked it in the pot for 6 seconds. If you want to say it, then say it. Suku's eyes lit up. Someone said, Ji Gu, can you stop turning off your phone? If the server crashes again, all we can do is pray to the heavens. Another said, I suggest the company give Ji Heng 3 phones. If one is off, there are still 2, the best one is. She laughed so hard she nearly choked. Someone said, at the next team building event, I suggest we weld Ji Heng onto the plane. I chewed on the tripe, not smiling, but the corner of my mouth twitched. One twitch was enough. Suku saw it and laughed even louder. The red oil in the pot was boiling furiously. Chilies and Sichuan peppercorns tumbled across the surface, steam rising and blurring that overly cheerful round face across the table. 3 in the morning, 2 years ago. In the footnotes I wrote, if this model runs successfully, I'll treat myself to a hot pot dinner. Today, the model ran successfully, and I had the hot pot. I picked up the glass of iced beer in front of me and took a big gulp. It was cold, cold to the core. I set the glass down and wiped the foam from the corner of my mouth. The city outside the window lit up, traffic, neon lights, and the shadows of pedestrians intertwined on the glass. An April night, neither too cold nor too warm, just right. Story 2. Both my master and the flower thief were poisoned with an aphrodisiac. After some thought, I gave the last antidote pill to my master. In my past life, I committed an unforgivable sin out of selfishness. For this, I received severe punishment, reborn. Into this life, I dare not harbor even a shred of selfish desire, yet my ever-aloof master, divine as a deity, gazed at me with reddened eyes and asked in despair, Faye, wasn't I your greatest love? 1. At 28, I was the demon sect's holy maiden, merciless, wicked beyond measure, condemned by all. Every righteous sect is hunting me down. Just then, a swordsman in white pointed his blade at me. Seeing his refined features, I grinned and said, long time no see. The swordsman remained silent, while his companion shouted louder, which, you've slaughtered innocents and committed countless atrocities. Today we deliver heaven's justice. Before he could finish speaking, the man suddenly clutched his mouth as blood gushed forth. Severed tongues lay scattered in the dust. I chuckled again. Go on, why stop now? Satisfied by their silence, I turned my gaze to the swordsman in white. The cold detachment in his eyes sent a sharp pang through my heart. The man before me was Elliot, the legendary swordsman whose fame spanned the realm. Though mere steps apart, an ocean of blood and vengeance lay between us. I crippled his second disciple's martial arts, severed their tendons, and scarred his youngest apprentice's face. He murdered my dearest friend, slaughtered my own flesh and blood, yet no one knew I was once his most prized disciple. We once shared a mad, delirious affair in the gloom of a cavern. Elliot stared at me with icy contempt. He said, give me the antidote you used to poison my disciple, after I nullify your martial arts. I'll let you leave. I smiled at Elliot. Come alone, and I'll give you the antidote. When Elliot approached, I whispered in his ear, Master, they say one night of love creates bonds for 100 days. We've shared more than just one night. Must you be so cruel? Don't you know everyone here bears me ill will? Stripping me of my martial arts would be worse than death. My words made Elliot's gaze turn stormy. Veins bulged on his forehead as he gripped my throat, his eyes blazing with fury. I gasped for air but clung to him with all my strength, leaving Elliot stunned. The next instant, an ornate dagger pierced his chest before he sent me flying with a single blow, leaving me curled on the ground in agonized sweat. Then a sword ran me through. The crowd split into 2 groups, one frantically tending to Elliot's wounds, the other dragging me toward the pyre, bound to the stake. I felt the crowd's venomous stares pierce through me like 1,000 knives. "Faye, you witch, give me back my son's life, a white-haired woman charged forward, clawing at me with desperate fury. She wept uncontrollably, and as I gazed at her aged face, it reminded me of someone. I laughed heartily. "When your son was dying, he kept calling for his mother, so it was you he wanted." My words sent the woman into even greater despair. "Burn her, burn the witch." The surrounding sounds gradually faded from my ears. Walking past Elliot lying motionless in the crowd, I smiled silently. Killing Elliot was my vengeance for those who followed me. Suddenly I remembered 18-year-old Faye, making a wish under the starry sky, praying never to leave her master in this lifetime. At 28, Faye was a wicked sorceress who committed every imaginable crime, a woman all deemed worthy of death. The one who once gently wiped my tears with a handkerchief now lies motionless in the crowd, sword in hand, between life and death. If heaven has mercy, if there's another life, I never want to see you again, Elliot. Amidst the chaos, I suddenly heard chanting coming from all directions, then everything went black as I lost consciousness. Too, I never thought I'd wake up again, staring at this strangely familiar place. My heart began racing uncontrollably, feeling my heart pounding in my chest. I couldn't process what was happening. Am I not dead? Do the dead still have a heartbeat? As my thoughts spiraled in chaos, two labored breaths suddenly sounded beside me. Like a giant hand dispersing the fog before my eyes, two men lay beside me. Their faces flushed crimson. My pupils constricted when I recognized one man's face. It was Elliot. I dug my nails into my palm, the sharp pain jolting me awake instantly. An unbelievable thought flashed through my mind. I was reborn. Fate gave 28-year-old Faye a second chance. My gaze gradually shifted to the side. The man beside Elliot possessed striking features, even more handsome than Elliot himself. His mesmerizing fox-like eyes and snow-white complexion were utterly captivating. If Elliot was an aloof, celestial being, then this man was a demonic enchantment that could beguile all mortals. This was the day I returned to when Elliot was poisoned with the aphrodisiac. Sharing his predicament was the notorious womanizer Archer. In my past life, I never knew Archer's true identity. I couldn't bear to watch him suffer from the poison's torment, nor witness a living soul perish before my eyes. All for my infatuation with Elliot. I administered the only antidote to Archer, offering my own body as the cure. To save Elliot, Elliot became convinced I'd conspired with Archer, that rogue of a libertine. Suspecting me of ill intent, I had no defense. I do have personal feelings for Elliot. Elliot imprisoned me in the dungeon, stripped me of my martial arts, shattered my sword, cast me out of the sect, and declared to the world that his first disciple was dead. Elliot's indifference made me realize I'd killed myself the moment I shed those robes. Those days in the dungeon were the most agonizing of my life. The torture left me wishing for death, my face disfigured beyond recognition. Archer was the one who eventually rescued me. That's how Elliot and I became mortal enemies. Memories of past suffering overwhelmed me. My face went pale as I realized I was still clutching the antidote, holding it to Archer's lips. My trembling hand clutched Elliot's collar. One upward jerk would snap his neck instantly. Then suddenly I remembered the days before our falling out. He played the zither while I danced with my sword through moonlit blossoms, our gazes meeting as Elliot's tender eyes lingered on me. That was the moment my delusion took root. In the end, it was my fault. I should never have developed feelings for Elliot. Countless times I've wondered what if I could start over. What should I do now, when they severed my tendons, destroyed my cultivation, and left me dying in that dungeon? I gritted my teeth with such hatred I could have torn him limb from limb. Enough, the vengeance from my past life is settled. In this lifetime, I just want to stay away from him. I retrieved the antidote from Archer's lips and whispered to Elliot, "Elliot, I regret this." Elliot's gaze grew distant as he instinctively pushed me away. "Faye, stay back. As your master, I might hurt you." My eyes welled up as I leaned down under Elliot's burning gaze. I forced the antidote between his lips, then carefully straightened his collar, whispering, "Elliot, we're even now." 3. Just as I turned to leave with Archer, Elliot suddenly grabbed my wrist. His palm burned so hot it nearly melted me. Elliot murmured, "Faye, don't go." His sharp eyebrows knitted together tightly, as if haunted by some nightmare. Unlike his usual aloof demeanor, Elliot appeared visibly distressed at this moment. I pried open Elliot's fingers one by one, then knelt before him and kowtowed with solemn thuds. "Master," I said, "let the past be past. Consider that you saved an ungrateful wretch." With those words, I left with Archer. A sudden tear rolled from the corner of Elliot's unconscious eye, disappearing into his jet black hair. Need some time to sort through my tumultuous decade, and Archer needs detoxification too. I recalled a secluded bamboo cottage not far from here. By the time we reached the bamboo cottage, Archer's eyes were bloodshot beyond measure. He whimpered beside me, his hands trembling with restraint to avoid touching me. I threw him into the pond near the bamboo hut. The icy water sent a shiver through Archer, jolting him slightly awake. I asked, "There's only one antidote, and I gave it to Elliot. How should I cure you?" Archer froze for a moment before replying hoarsely, "No antidote exists. The aphrodisiac's effects can only be relieved through intimacy. It's potent. You should leave." Before Archer could finish speaking, I began slipping out of my garments. As my alabaster skin came into view, Archer's eyes darkened with desire, clenching his fists. He growled, "Have you lost your mind? I'm a notorious libertine. Get out of here," ignoring his warning. I stepped into the moonlit pool. When I stood before him, veins bulged at Archer's temples. With a feral growl, he seized me and dragged us both beneath the water's surface. In the chaos, I suddenly remembered my past life, lying half-dead in a dungeon, gnawed by rats and snakes. When Archer appeared before me like a divine savior, he pulled me from the storm of blades, then took a fatal arrow meant for me. Tracing Archer's striking features with my fingers, I murmured, "Now we're even." When I came to, Archer was curled up in the corner. I couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of his tall frame curled up in such a comical position. Seeing me awake, Archer flushed crimson and shut his eyes, pretending to be asleep. Watching his trembling eyelids, I didn't call him out, just smiled silently as I dressed. Archer finally broke the silence. "I'll take responsibility. Where do you live? I'll come properly to propose." I couldn't help but chuckle. "Aren't you supposed to be a notorious womanizer? How unexpectedly principled, though if you came to my place, you'd probably get thrown out. Let's just leave it at this. Ours was but a fleeting romance." Archer's gaze held a tinge of melancholy. I dragged my exhausted body outside the cabin. I ignored Archer's unspoken words hanging in the air. In my past life, I gave him the antidote and he rescued me from the dungeon. Our karmic debt was settled. Yet later he sheltered me during our flight and took an arrow for me, leaving me no chance to repay. After all these twists and turns, I can finally return this kindness. My path ahead is uncertain, destined to walk alone. At the bamboo grove's exit stood Elliot with a stormy expression that darkened further upon seeing me. His voice turned glacial. "Faye, how could you be so reckless with yourself?" For I stared blankly at Elliot's stern demeanor. Momentarily dazed, memories surfaced. My past life where I'd become the antidote, curing Elliot's poison with my own body. Elliot's slap stung my cheek as he coldly demanded why I had no self-respect. My heart suddenly ached. Through the searing pain, I calmly replied, "This is karma I owe him, none of your concern." His face fell further at my words. "He's a notorious womanizer. Faye, you're aiding and abetting a criminal." Elliot's words left me momentarily disoriented. Collecting myself, I replied calmly, "This isn't your concern. I'm an adult now." Elliot snorted coldly. "When we return to the sect, you'd better reflect on your actions." I was ready to walk away, but then I remembered my junior sect siblings and followed Elliot back to Qingyun's sect. I thought I could keep my hatred in check, yet when I saw Mina, my burning hatred reduced all reason to ashes. I clenched Mina's throat with crushing force, her pale face turning crimson as she struggled weakly. A fierce palm strike came rushing toward me. It was Elliot. Mina flung herself into Elliot's arms like a fledgling swallow, sobbing in panic. "I don't know what I did wrong for my senior sister to treat me this way. She must have her reasons, but it hurts so much." She whimpered pitifully. Elliot's expression darkened instantly. He raised his hand and slapped me across the face, my cheek instantly swelling red as the world around me began to blur. Elliot's features slowly merged with those from our past life, the same look of disgust in his eyes when he gazed at me. The ache in my chest grew sharper. I loved Elliot deeply, yet I hated him just as fiercely. Two warring emotions tore at my heart, leaving it bruised and bleeding. Darkness swallowed my vision before I could utter a word. It felt like reliving that helpless moment from my past life when even heaven turned a deaf ear. My ever-gentle junior brother lunged at me with a twisted face, viciously tearing at my clothes while screaming, "Whore," through gritted teeth. Then I remembered the innocent and lively Mina, who with a vicious expression locked me in a cage and disfigured my face beyond recognition. She stood triumphantly before me. Still wearing that innocent smile. I'll carve up that fox-like face of yours. Let's see how you'll steal master's affection from me now. In a daze, I found myself standing in a blood-soaked courtyard. My childhood nanny lay motionless on the ground, her fate unknown, while Elliot casually watched me, gripping a blood-stained longsword. The exhausted archer, also covered in blood, took the fatal sword strike meant for me, coughing up blood. He desperately urged me to run. My heart ached so fiercely that I wanted to perish together with the person before me. The darkness behind me surged like a tide, and though I struggled desperately, it still swallowed me whole. In the darkness, a warm hand rested on my forehead. I jerked awake to find Elliot sitting by my bed, checking my temperature with his hand. My body stiffened as I instinctively slapped Elliot's hand away. Elliot's face darkened. What madness possesses you now? First surrendering yourself to some libertine, then attacking your junior sister. How did I ever end up with a disciple like you? My expression equally frosty, I replied calmly, in that case, I'll take my leave and spare you the displeasure of my presence. After a long silence, Elliot finally spoke. No, 5. Elliot locked me in the disciplinary chamber, coldly stating I'd only be released when I admitted my wrongdoing. He visited me several times during my confinement, but our encounters always ended in arguments. On this particular day, he approached me, carrying a bowl of longevity noodles. In a gentle tone, he said, "Faye, it's your birthday today." I stared coldly at this bowl of longevity noodles, only then remembering, today was my birthday. Elliot said, "Make a wish." Suddenly I couldn't recall what wish I'd made at 20. Not that it matters now. It was probably just wishing for Elliot's happiness, hoping to stay by Elliot's side forever. Elliot gazed at me with gentle warmth. A sudden pang of melancholy tugged at my heart. On this very day in my past life, Elliot's eyes had been filled with icy disdain. The thought of him sitting here sharing longevity noodles with me was unthinkable. He'd have rather seen me vanish from this world. All the love and hatred of that past life dissolved with the thrust of my blade into Elliot's heart. In this lifetime, I harbor no selfish motives, nor do I wish to be entangled with Elliot. Without glancing at Elliot, I sneered. I wish I could leave this place, depart from the Azure Cloud sect altogether. Making way for your precious little disciple, aren't you? Elliot frowned and opened his mouth to speak, but waves of dizziness suddenly clouded my vision. When I came to again, I found myself lying in my own room. Elliot noticed I was awake, set down his book, and brought me the medicine that had been warming by the fire. Elliot said, "You're still weak. I had the phantom physician prepare this medicine with licorice root. It won't taste bitter." The medicine had a pleasant aroma, its excellent tonic. Yet I detected something off about its scent. I suddenly knocked the bowl from Elliot's hands, spilling the brown medicinal brew that filled the air with its fragrant aroma. Elliot's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly, his voice turned icy with suppressed anger. "I'll make you another bowl. Drink it." Soon, the steaming medicinal brew reappeared before me. Clenching my fists, I shook my head. "I won't drink it." Elliot grew impatient. "How will you recover if you refuse the medicine?" My eyes locked onto Elliot's with deadly intensity. "Elliot, you've laced this with enough safflower to make miscarriage the least of my worries." My mind exploded in shock. Disbelieving, I instinctively cradled my abdomen with both hands. Only then did I notice Elliot's ghostly pallor, his white robes hanging on a frame so frail a breeze might topple him. His gaze held me with bittersweet longing, regret wrestling with the dizzying joy of reunion. It dawned on me, "You've come back too." 6. Pain flickered in Elliot's eyes as he reached for my hand, only to freeze when he saw the resistance and despair in my gaze. He murmured, "I'm sorry, Faye." In that instant, a tidal wave of emotions crashed through me. I clutched desperately at his collar, drowning in the depths of Elliot's eyes as suppressed pain and resentment threatened to consume me, choking the breath from my lungs. Tears streamed down my face as I sobbed. "Elliot, you came back too, didn't you? Tell me you did." Elliot moved to embrace me, but I shoved him away. He gazed at me with sorrow before nodding slowly. My strength drained away suddenly, and I slumped to the ground. After a long silence, Elliot abruptly knelt before me. He gingerly took my hand, his eyes rimmed with red. I wrenched my hand away and staggered to my feet, desperate to escape this suffocating place. Elliot called after me, but I didn't turn back. He reached out to block my path, and I instinctively shielded my abdomen, momentarily trapped. A soft chuckle suddenly came from the doorway. Well, never thought I'd see the day when the great Elliot would resort to such shameless pestering, quite the eye-opener. I turned toward the voice. It was Archer. Archer slipped quietly to my side and pushed Elliot's obstructing arm away. Elliot watched helplessly as Archer and I walked away, his voice trembling with sorrow. Faye, are you leaving with Archer again? I turned back to see Elliot's eyes bloodshot with anguish. He asked me desperately, Faye, didn't you love me most? Why are you abandoning me? Even Asher, will you forsake him too? He's been missing his mother terribly. The mention of Asher's name made me freeze momentarily. Archer sneered from the side. Elliot, you keep preaching about noble principles. What exactly are you doing now? Accusing Faye of having a child out of wedlock. Is this how you slander her? Elliot remained silent, just staring at me with pleading eyes. I touched my cheek, finding it wet with tears, choking back the pain and bitterness in my heart. I said through gritted teeth, Elliot, you don't deserve to mention Asher's name. Elliot rushed toward me, only to be stopped by Archer's icy glare, tears welling in his eyes. He pleaded urgently, I'll make it up to him. To all of you, I swear I'll never hurt you again. Faye, please, give me one more chance. I shook my head. Elliot continued, Faye, be reasonable. Get rid of that bastard in your belly, and Asher will definitely come back. A murderous glint flashed in Archer's eyes at Elliot's words. I lowered my gaze, touching my abdomen. Elliot, Asher won't come back. He'd never accept his biological father being the man who killed him. Elliot turned deathly pale, his whole body swaying unsteadily. 7. Elliot and I had a child together. His name was Asher. Asher, the Forsaken. He died at 4 years old when Mina fell gravely ill. For Asher possessed the rare sword bone constitution with pure life essence. To save Mina, Elliot personally delivered Asher to the ghost physician. When I retrieved him, not an inch of his body remained unbroken, yet even so, he reluctantly agreed, wiping my tears away. Mother, don't cry. Without Asher, Mother would surely be the highest flying kite. 8. I escorted Archer back to the Bamboo Grove cottage. I asked Archer, don't you have anything to ask me? Archer's gaze burned intensely. Well, doesn't the baby in your belly need a father? I turned away stone-faced, while Archer clutched his chest and wailed dramatically on the bed. Just as I was about to leave, Archer yanked open the bed curtains and whined pitifully, you just sleep with me and not take responsibility. I turned back, my eyes meeting the sculpted paleness of his bare chest. Archer's gaze was as pure as a fawn's, his long lashes fluttering. If you don't want to take responsibility, forget it, I'll be responsible. I turned to look at Archer. Even though we'd relied on each other for survival for some time, I didn't really know him that well. Archer kept staring at me, his eyes burning with intensity. An invisible tail seemed to wag frantically behind him, as if possessed. I nodded. Archer's eyes instantly lit up, and so Archer and I settled into this bamboo forest cabin. I asked Archer, any objections? Archer was brewing medicine for me when he heard me. He just smiled and shook his head. Sunlight filtered through the sparse bamboo leaves, illuminating the fine down on his face. The herbal aroma made me unexpectedly drowsy, though branded as a notorious womanizer shunned by respectable families. Archer proved far less lustful than his reputation suggested upon closer acquaintance. I chuckled wryly at the memory of my past life. Perhaps because life had been peaceful lately, I seldom dreamed about my previous incarnation. Maybe that former existence was too agonizing. I'd instinctively buried those nightmare-like memories deep within. On this day, I dreamed of my past life. I jolted awake to see Archer's concerned face. He set down what he was holding and touched my forehead. Nightmare, you look so pale. Seeing Archer alive before me, I suddenly felt like I was still dreaming. I whispered, Archer, am I dreaming? Archer paused, then chuckled and booped my nose. Silly. I heaved a sigh of relief. Archer brought over the calming herbal soup, but just as I reached for it, he stopped my hand. Then he began feeding me spoonful by spoonful. Bamboo leaves showered upon us. My vision suddenly blurred. A swordsman in white emerged at the courtyard gate, his gaze heavy upon me. Senior sister, since when have you been keeping this stray man? This is an illicit union without proper matchmaking. Elliot snapped at the naive Mina with a cold voice. Hold your tongue, he said softly to me. Faye, come here. 9. I shook my head and said calmly, Elliot, we're through. Mina beamed with a smile. Eldest senior sister, The master came personally to fetch you. How could you possibly defy our teacher? I watched Mina's innocent expression with cold detachment. I used to dote on this girl dearly after she joined the Azure Cloud sect. I guided her through its ways. Whenever she was bullied, I'd stand before her as her shield, yet she viciously disfigured my face with a monstrous expression. I can't fathom what I ever did to wrong her. Reborn into this life, I finally see the darkness she hid beneath her innocence. Only Elliot remained blind, never seeing the truth. Seeing the eager look on Elliot's face, I sighed and said, "Let's talk." The moment I finished speaking, Archer and Mina's expressions darkened instantly, but they said nothing, just watching intently as Elliot and I walked away. Elliot gazed at Archer's retreating figure and remarked with meaningful undertones, "So you went with him after all." I chuckled. "He's the second person to come to my rescue, isn't he?" Elliot's gaze darkened slightly. "Faye, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding between us. I admit, ever since that incident, I've been avoiding you. I just don't know how to face you, or how to face myself, but I've figured it out now. Faye, I'll shield you from all those vicious rumors. Archer's no good for you. Can't you see reason? Don't throw your life away over someone like him." I remained silent, just staring at Elliot. Elliot's expression hadn't changed. Everything suddenly felt so alien. All those past life loves and hatreds vanished in an instant. In my previous life, Archer's dying words were for me to be true to myself, yet I never truly got the chance to be myself. During my flight, I met countless people and gained many friends. To Elliot, those friends were heretics, but to me, they were rare souls of genuine sincerity. I steadied myself and didn't respond to Elliot, suddenly bringing up those unseen friends. "Elliot, remember that master thief Lila you had your disciples punish? She was actually a poor soul, struggling to raise her daughter alone when her medicine money got stolen. There's also the blood fiend. He's got a rather elegant name, Evan. Your so-called righteous sects drove his family to their deaths. Look closer, and you'll find every person he killed had dirty secrets. That includes me." Elliot, do your homework before you come preaching. 10. Perhaps Elliot's arrival triggered the nightmare I had that night. Archer was dead, and with my broken body, I began to hide and wander. When I reached a tidy little courtyard, I could hold on no longer and collapsed at the gate. At that moment, I thought, just let it be, so be it. Then Lila appeared. She looked at me, settled me in, recognized me, yet didn't turn me in. Lila said, "I'm a villain, you're a fugitive. We make quite the pair. You'll stay here with me." I wanted to bring Asher back, but with all my powers stripped away, Lila took me to the demon sect where I became their holy maiden. The demonic cultivation techniques are excruciating. Lila stayed by my side through it all. Eventually, Lila became my right-hand enforcer. One day while we were out, we encountered Evan being hunted down. Lila's soft heart couldn't bear to leave him, so she saved him. I once asked Lila, "You're always so tender-hearted. Aren't you afraid of saving someone who might be bad?" When I asked this, Lila was dressing Evan's wounds, her eyes crinkling with a smile. "As long as I'm capable enough, I can protect myself. What if after you save him, he turns out to be just like those people?" Lila knew I was referring to those so-called noble sects. After a long silence, she said calmly, "I'll kill him." Evan didn't leave after regaining consciousness. He seems to have taken a liking to Lila, which makes me happy. All my friends deserve a bright future. It's their presence that kept me from becoming a truly wicked cult leader. Human nature is unpredictable. We've done evil deeds, but also good ones, and there are those who try to pin their faults on us. I can't defend myself. Not that anyone would believe me anyway. Lila died on New Year's Eve, stabbed by a man feigning injury. Evan went berserk and slaughtered the perpetrator's entire household. I didn't try to stop him. I needed him to let it out. I couldn't bear losing another friend. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd given Elliot the antidote that day. I'd still be the favored senior disciple, still worthy of Elliot's smile. My feelings for Elliot are a tangled mix of love and resentment. When I wrested Asher back from the ghost doctor, Evan's eyes turned bloodshot in an instant. He's gone completely mad. I didn't stop him, just quietly picked up the whip and joined his frenzy. Evan died for me. Mina laid an inescapable trap, determined to strike me down. With his life, he tore open an escape through this narrow gap. With his dying breath, he smiled at me and said, "I'm going to find Lila now." That was the day I lost my mind too. 11. Back then, Lila was just an ordinary tofu pudding vendor on the streets. carrying a pale-faced little girl on her back. When Archer and I sat down, her face lit up with eager warmth. She looked nothing like the formidable powerhouse she was known to be. Wiping her hands, she approached us and asked, "What can I get for you two?" After finishing the tofu pudding, I couldn't help but feel a wave of emotion. So Lila was telling the truth. Her tofu pudding was divine. What a shame I never got to taste it in my past life. I handed her a money pouch, but Lila waved her hands nervously. "For coppers will do." "That's too much," I chuckled. "Take a closer look." Only then did Lila recognize the familiar fabric of the coin purse, clutching it tightly. Her eyes welled up with unshed tears, her hands trembled slightly. I said, "When I passed by earlier, I spotted some grubby fingers going for it, so I retrieved it for you. This truly belongs to us." I placed 4 copper coins into Lila's palm, wiping her tears. Lila shook her head vehemently and pushed the coins back. She knelt before us, sobbing her gratitude. "You've saved our lives. This is my baby's medicine money. Had it been stolen, I wouldn't have known how to go on." The little girl strapped to her back began wailing, as if sharing her mother's anguish. I couldn't bear seeing Lila in tears, so I quickly grabbed Archer's arm and pulled him away. Archer asked me, "You're just leaving like that?" I looked at him puzzled as Archer fanned himself, eyes twinkling with amusement. These so-called famous physicians are truly bizarre. The ghost doctor lurks among respectable circles yet commits such disgraceful acts. But I happen to know a real miracle worker, Faye. She'll make things right. I stood frozen in place, then tears began rolling down my cheeks. Nearby, Lila opened the money pouch and burst into silent tears upon seeing the gold pieces I'd stuffed inside. After bidding farewell to Lila, Archer and I went to the Lee residence and saved their gravely ill parents. I didn't see Evan this time. Perhaps we'll pass like ships in the night someday, or maybe even become friends, but that remains to be seen. My belly kept growing heavier, and I could barely walk anymore, so Archer and I settled in Jiangnan, where I gave birth to a daughter a month later. I felt somewhat disheartened, yet somehow it seemed fitting. In his past life, Asher had endured far too much suffering. He deserves a better, brighter future. On my daughter's 1-month celebration, an unexpected visitor arrived at our home. It was Elliot. Elliot's temples had turned gray, his frame noticeably thinner. The warmth in his eyes when he looked at me had been replaced by guilt. He looked at the daughter in my arms with visible disappointment. I understood his disappointment. He was still hoping Asher would appear in his life. Calmly, I poured him a drink. Elliot studied me for a long moment before downing it in one gulp. After Elliot left, I found a jade pendant lying where he'd stood. "You can access everything he owns." I was about to return it when Archer stopped me. With a smile, he said, "Keep it. He owes you." After a moment's thought, I realized he was right. That debt was owed to me. After Elliot left, everything returned to calm. While grocery shopping, I overheard some martial arts gossip. After Elliot's first disciple vanished, he severed the tendons of his second disciple and banished them from the sect. Mina was also expelled from the sect by him. When I found them, their legs had been severed as they knelt at the temple gate. Already lifeless, Elliot suddenly went mad during a gathering. He kept shouting his apprentice's name, swearing to bring him back. It sounded like a tale from another world to me. The butcher selling pork said eagerly while I pressed down his scale, "Don't shortchange me when I'm not looking." The butcher chuckled darkly. Not far away, Archer held a 3-year-old girl in his arms, helping her fly a kite. Sunlight bathed them as they waved at me with laughter. I called back and followed after them. Side story. After Faye's death, Elliot lay in bed staring into the pitch-black night sky. His mind was flooded with visions of Faye. He couldn't articulate his feelings for her, yearning to keep her close yet desperate to push her away. "Elliot, you're such a coward." Lost in thought, Elliot drifted into a deep slumber. He dreamed of Faye blushing as she slowly undressed him. He wanted to scold her, but a spark ignited within him, setting ablaze his deepest desires, compelling him to pull Faye into an embrace. Waking in a sweat, Elliot wiped his brow and made his way to the hills behind the house. 2 small mounds rose silently on the back hill. Standing before the mounds, Elliot suddenly found tears streaming down his face. Another decade had passed. Elliot became the most reviled villain in the martial world, having brutally murdered his second and youngest disciples, then slaughtering countless sect members. During the pursuit of Elliot, the past of the former demon cult saintess resurfaced. That's when everyone realized Elliot was actually Faye's master and disciple, both utterly deranged. while subduing Elliot, they discovered he still carried Faye's whip. Elliot was a formidable martial artist when he fled to the Buddhist temple and was found by the crowd. He severed his own arms to renounce his skills, vowing to spend his remaining years praying for those who had perished by his hand before madness took him. Elliot had been a good man, his virtues and sins balanced the scales. Little did they know, Elliot never sought Buddha's mercy at all. He would beg for anything, just to see Faye one more time, and then what after seeing her? Elliot didn't know. One day, he woke from a nightmare to find himself in the Qingyun sect. This was the day of Faye's birthday. After regaining consciousness, he knelt on the ground, kowtowed 3 times to all deities, then painstakingly prepared a bowl of longevity noodles. He'd been making these longevity noodles for 40 years. The motions were second nature now. When he saw Faye, tears welled up in his eyes, though he couldn't fathom why Faye chose to give him the antidote in this lifetime. But it didn't matter, as long as she's safe and sound. Elliot thought, if this were a dream, he'd never want to wake. Age must be catching up with him. He'd forgotten so many things, yet Faye's memory remained. But when those lost memories came flooding back, it hit him, Faye was gone forever. Story 2, my brother tricked me into coming home for no apparent reason, which initially made me quite angry. Why did you guys buy so much stuff? An official notice read, all residents, please return to your homes. The entire city's residential areas are under lockdown. It felt like the end of the world, and I was unprepared, but my family, whom I've rejoined, took me in, and we all hunkered down together in our 4-story house. It was a clear and sunny noon when I had just finished my morning work and was heading to lunch with my colleagues. My phone started ringing urgently. Thinking it was a work call, I almost ignored it, but then I saw that the caller was my twin brother. Owen, sis, come home quick, something's happened to Dad. His voice was filled with urgency. What happened? I became anxious instantly. It's hard to explain over the phone. Just come back. I've bought you a ticket on the last train. I've sent you the details. Hurry back, Owen urged. I was terrified, imagining the worst scenarios possible. After explaining the situation to my colleague, I immediately took a taxi to the train station and called my boss to request leave. I arrived at the station at 12:40 p.m., and the train left at 1:05 p.m. The train finally reached the city where I live at 4:32 p.m. Throughout the journey, I tried messaging my brother and mother several times. Owen only replied occasionally to check where I was. Sis, go straight home after you get off. I stared at his last message, not daring to waste a moment. As soon as I got out of the station, I took a cab home. When I knocked on the door, there stood my dad, perfectly fine. I was a bit stunned and managed to ask, Dad, what's going on? Dad pulled me inside and quickly shut the door. Rebecca, I'm fine. We just used that as an excuse to get you home quickly. I was confused by Dad's words. What do you mean? Where are Owen and Mom? Dad didn't explain much, just mentioned, they've gone to get supplies, and I just had someone reinforce the doors and windows. Why are you preparing supplies? I asked, puzzled. Just then, Owen came in carrying large boxes, and Mom followed with bags of stuff. Dad, there's more in the car, help me with it, Owen said breathlessly. Sis, you're back? Good, he said as he set down the items, watching them bring box after box into the house. My confusion peaked, and I even felt a bit angry. What's all this for? Why did you buy so much stuff? I directed my anger at my brother first. Why did you lie about something happening to Dad? He's fine, Owen wiped his sweat. Sis, there's no time to explain. You rest for a bit, and we'll go out again. Wait for us at home. You'll understand soon. Owen hurried out, then dashed back in. Oh, and sis, I have a task for you. Here are 4 iPads, all 512 gigabytes. Download as many movies and novels as you can on them. Whatever you want to watch, just download it. I watched them drive away from the window. What the heck? Speechless, I sat on the sofa and glanced at the train ticket for the return journey. I also searched for highly recommended novels and movies and started browsing on my phone. Suddenly, a news alert popped up. A mysterious new virus emerges in Country M. I skimmed through it briefly. Far away in Country M, a highly contagious new virus has emerged, infecting thousands within just 3 days and drawing widespread international attention. In an official video, several disoriented individuals were seen wandering the streets, attacking and biting anyone they encountered. The bitten victims bled profusely from their necks and collapsed, only to rise and wander like their attackers after some time. This footage sparked intense discussions online, with many speculating whether these were the legendary zombies. However, most people seemed distant from the reality, making light of the situation in their comments, unaware of the impending danger. Just as I was looking up more information about this new virus, my parents and Owen came home. They brought several large boxes from the car, which I helped move. After we finished, the first floor of our usually vacant house was completely filled. "It's about time," Owen said, glancing at the clock which pointed to 6 p.m. We all sat down to rest in the living room on the second floor, which was also crammed with various supplies. I was about to share the news about the virus in America, but Owen spoke first. "Sis, I know you have a lot of questions. Let me explain something to you. In about half an hour, our country will be attacked by a new type of virus infection. For some unknown reason, there are outbreaks in multiple places, with many cities reporting zombie-like attackers." Owen paused, took a deep breath, and continued, "Mom, Dad, and I have returned from that world. We experienced a world ravaged by zombies, but it seems you don't remember any of that. When the virus suddenly broke out last time, we lost contact with each other and didn't know what happened to you. In that world, I was killed by a zombie, but when I woke up, I found myself back at noon today. I immediately called our parents and rushed home, only to find they also knew what was about to happen. So we hurriedly called you to come back." That explained why my brother, who works in the provincial capital, was also at home. I worked in a neighboring province and had a longer journey home. After they went shopping for essential supplies and all the tools they could find, I came back and covered some areas they hadn't thought of, Owen added. As I slowly absorbed this shocking news, I couldn't help but ask, "So, what happened in your last life?" The three exchanged glances, their eyes filled with complex emotions. Owen said, "Sis, it was a hell on earth I hope you'll never have to see." Our usually quiet father also spoke softly. "In our last life, your mom and I just stayed at home without preparing any supplies, but unexpectedly, we were harmed by the people closest to us." We listened as Dad recounted his experiences from his previous life where he and Mom were actually killed by my uncle's family. We lived next door to my uncle's family, but our relationship was very distant, almost non-existent. After a dispute over caregiving for our elderly parents, my father had severed ties with them, treating them like strangers even during holidays. In the previous life, half a month after the zombie virus outbreak, most families were running out of supplies. My uncle's family came to my parents, asking them to share their remaining food. I didn't agree, Dad recalled, his head bowed. "I never expected that they would sneak over from the rooftop at night and try to steal from us. I thought they were thieves and fought back, but they knocked me down with weapons. When I woke up, I was back at noon today," Dad finished his story, and I was both shocked and scared. In such apocalyptic times, does humanity still exist? Mom clutched her sleeves tightly, her emotions palpable. He started recalling the events. "I heard some noise and hurried upstairs, only to see them smashing your father's head with a hoe. They then spotted me, captured me, and strangled me to death." These two casually spoken sentences encapsulated the agony of their past lives. Owen was extremely shocked upon hearing this. They had been busy stocking up and fortifying their house and hadn't had the chance to sit down and discuss these details. I was on the subway home from work when I saw a trending news about a zombie virus on my phone. Just as the train stopped at a station, several zombies rushed in and began ferociously biting people in the carriage. I hurriedly rushed off the train and fled, but there were even more zombies outside on the streets. People were falling down one after another, only to get back up. There were just too many. I couldn't escape the fate of being bitten. Even after I was bitten, I still had some consciousness left and thought about going home, but whenever I saw a person, I couldn't help but chase and bite them, and eventually, I lost all consciousness. When I woke up, I was back at the company, just finishing the morning's work. This was Owen's past life, infected by the zombie virus while commuting on the subway. As for me in their world, I am lost somewhere unknown. My parents are also grieving. They survived in the apocalypse for half a month, constantly worried because they couldn't contact their child. In fact, their son had been infected on the first day. Don't worry, now we can face this together as a family. Owen's expression shifted from contemplative to resolute. We are safe now. Half an hour before the zombie virus outbreak, our four-story, self-built home was filled with enough supplies to last a couple of years. My family and I began to categorize and organize the supplies we had bought haphazardly. 1. Food supplies, 30 bags of rice, 20 bags of flour, 30 barrels of cooking oil, 50 cases of mineral water, 10 cases of compressed biscuits, only 3 cases of milk due to its 6-month shelf life, approximately 50 kilograms of preserved food such as cured fish, duck, and sausage, about 30 kilograms of perishable fresh fruits and vegetables, 2 freezers for storing and preserving food, eggs and various meats filled all the freezers and refrigerators, 15 cases of instant noodles, vermicelli, and self-heating hot pots, 10 cases of long-lasting canned meats, various durable food items such as nuts and dried goods, miscellaneous items like salt, sugar, and sauces, various snacks bought haphazardly. 2. Daily necessities, 20 boxes plus 10 packs of tissues, 10 sets of home clothes and pajamas per person, 10 boxes of disposable underwear in various sizes, 4 warm sleeping bags, 5 boxes of sanitary pads, boxes of dish soap, shower gel, shampoo, laundry detergent, and soap. Numerous towels, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and trash bags, a variety of commonly used medicines, medical equipment, and first aid supplies, plus a first aid manual. 3. Sustainable items, 4 solar power systems, 1 human-powered generator combined with an exercise bike, 8 solar panels, 40 bags of vegetable seeds, 3 water purifiers, various amounts of fertilizer. 4. Tools, various hardware tools, hose, hammers, military knives, kitchen knives, slingshots, and even chains, for high quality. Helmets, for self-installed surveillance cameras, 2 bottles of pepper spray, for stun guns, 1 remote-controlled drone, 1 radio, for walkie-talkies, numerous flashlights and candles, various household consumables like light bulbs, tubes, and wires, 1 each of small appliances such as rice cookers, fans, induction cookers, and portable heaters. For portable gas stoves, they bought whatever they could find, apparently just grabbing whatever was available given the short preparation time and ensuring basic survival. They also gathered up what they already had at home, making the most of it, considering the limited load-bearing capacity of each floor. After consulting and calculating safe limits, we distributed the supplies by weight across the floors, placing heavy items like water in the basement. Our self-built house has 4 floors and a basement. The first floor is half garage and half my grandparents' room and their leisure area. Sometimes their friends come over for a chat. After the grandparents passed away, this place wasn't used for anything else. The second floor serves as our primary living space, including the living room, kitchen, dining room, my parents' bedroom, and a study. The third floor is where my bedroom is, along with my brother's room and a large central hall. Previously, Owen had turned it into a gaming area, and not to be outdone, I claimed half the space to set up a makeshift home theater. Half of the 4th floor is a gym, equipped with various fitness equipment and a ping-pong table. The other half is a large sun terrace where my gardening enthusiast parents grow flowers, plants, and vegetables. The terrace also houses a water tower, also known as a water storage tank, used for collecting and storing large amounts of rainwater. Additionally, there is a bathroom on each floor, providing convenience for everyone. In a previous incident, my uncle and his family had climbed over from the rooftop terrace. The buildings of the 2 families are similarly structured, and the terraces are separated only by a half wall. Upon climbing up to the rooftop, I checked the surroundings. Good. My dad had already installed a 2-meter-high anti-theft railing and electric fence, effectively separating our place from the neighbors, extending even beyond the wall. There's an invisible yet safe electric fence, and in case of a power outage, there are still effective physical barriers. Now, if they try to come over, they would be risking their lives, but our home, stocked full of supplies, might be in an even more dangerous situation than before. I had no idea how long I'd been busy. It was completely dark already. I glanced at my phone. #new virus emerges in multiple locations. #numerous cities lockdown. #residents return home for unified management. Perhaps because our city has a smaller permanent population, the virus hasn't spread as terrifyingly as in the larger cities. and things seem relatively calm, however, in various family and friends groups. News and rumors about stockpiling reminders have gone wild. I opened an online supermarket app, but many items were already out of stock. After refreshing a couple of times, the app simply showed that the supermarket was closed. I felt relieved that my parents had shopped in advance. Once we had installed cameras at the windows facing the streets on the first and top floors, we could finally start to lie flat and live temporarily at ease after a day of running around and setting things up. We were completely exhausted. No one had the energy to cook, so we made some rice and ate some pre-cooked food that we'd bought while out. A roasted chicken and a barbecued goose were warmed up in the oven, tasting almost as if they were freshly made, and quickly devoured by us. Driven by hunger, I don't know why, but suddenly, I could understand the zombies. It was just too delicious. Taking advantage of the fact that zombies hadn't yet appeared in our suburban area, our family each went back to their rooms to rest. Lying in my own bed, wrapped in the warm, familiar scents, it was utterly silent. Perhaps the calm before the storm. I fell into a deep sleep. The next day, I woke up naturally. When I got up, my parents were already preparing breakfast. Delicious egg pancakes, made with extra eggs for a chewy texture, freshly ground soy milk, each sip rich and unadulterated, fried ham slices sizzling in the pan, crackling as they cooked. With ample supplies and plenty of time, my parents poured their love into the preparation. What children miss the most when away from home is this simple, homemade taste. Owen, while eating breakfast, checked his phone to see which supermarkets still had supplies, thinking of stocking up more before the virus reached us. "They're all gone," he said, disheartened. "It's okay, we have plenty stocked up," Dad reassured him. "Yeah, better not go out now," Mom also said. "We could always use more. Just doesn't feel enough." Owen continued searching the living room. TV reported on the virus's spread. Several major cities were the first to bear the brunt, swiftly implementing lockdown policies. The resolute voice of the TV news anchor worked hard to instill confidence in the public, convincing everyone that our country's protection of its people is comprehensive and robust. This was followed by expert interviews, where the host and scholars discussed the causes and consequences of this sudden public safety incident and its impact on individuals. However, videos uploaded by netizens presented a different scene. It's hard to describe the appearance of the zombie hordes. The infected gathered together, moving like a tide, like swarms of locusts, wandering in a daze. When they saw any living people within their field of vision, they would quicken their pace towards them. The video ended there, devoid of gory scenes, but it was enough to trigger alarm and panic among viewers. These short clips spread rapidly, one after another becoming unavailable. Days at home passed quickly. My family and I would have breakfast and watch the news, and before we knew it, it was already noon. With nothing else to do, my brother and I took on the task of cooking lunch. We seldom cooked, so we were slow and started preparing the ingredients early. Meanwhile, our parents went to double-check any overlooked supplies and keep up with the latest news updates. For lunch, we decided on cola chicken wings, beef stew with tomatoes and potatoes, and stir-fried vegetables. Our cooking skills weren't as good as our parents, so we stuck to simpler dishes. While chopping vegetables, I asked my brother, "Owen, tell me again about your story of being bitten by a zombie." Owen carefully washed the leaves and replied without hesitation, "I didn't survive the first day. I don't know anything. Like, as a zombie, what did you rely on to recognize living people from your own kind?" Let me think. "Oh, after becoming a zombie, I became particularly sensitive to sounds and smells. The footsteps of living people and zombies are different, and zombies have a smell of flesh and blood, sort of like the meat we're cutting now, whereas living people don't. It's quite easy to tell them apart." Owen even managed a mischievous laugh. "Just make the comparison, don't compare it to the food we're eating," I said, nudging him with my elbow. However, from Owen's words, it was evident that zombies could be distracted by smells. "Rebecca, Owen, come down here." Dad called us from downstairs. We went down to the hall and were surprised to find a dog there. Its clear eyes looked at us timidly. "Dad, what's this about?" we asked, looking to Dad for an explanation. "I was organizing supplies downstairs and heard something at the door, so I quickly checked the surveillance and found it," Dad said hesitantly. "I've seen it before. Sometimes I'd feed it leftover food. In the current situation, if it keeps wandering outside, it probably won't survive." I understood Dad's thinking. We had a dog when we were younger, which brought us a lot of joy, but after it passed away from old age, the whole family was heartbroken, especially Dad, who couldn't bear the pain of parting, decided not to have a dog again. But now, this big white dog lay weakly on the floor. As Dad said, if we let it continue to roam outside, it might not even see the sunrise tomorrow. In times of disaster, we are too insignificant. Being able to save ourselves is already fortunate. We can't do much, but if a small effort can save another life, it's worth it. We brought it some water and leftover food, watching it go from being tense and timid to gradually letting down its guard and eating heartily. We urgently called a family meeting to discuss the issue of accommodating the dog. Mom was actually hesitant about taking in the dog. While she felt sympathy for it, she was worried about managing its barking. We weren't sure if the stray dog had any diseases since it had been wandering for so long, and we feared it might compromise our family's safety. The rest of us were in favor of keeping the dog, and we addressed each of Mom's concerns one by one. Dad, observing the dog's spirited behavior and eating habits, concluded that it seemed quite healthy. I suggested we could set aside a small area for the dog in the home theater on the third floor. It's soundproof, so even if the dog barks, it won't be heard outside. However, it was inevitable that the stray dog had contracted parasites, which led us to brainstorm for a while. Dad thought we might use some herbal remedies we had stored, like mugwort, to give it a bath, which could be beneficial. Owen decided to make another trip down the street to look for some deworming medicine for the dog and to see if he could find any other useful items. Seeing how persistent he had been since last night, we let him go. Our small town seemed pretty normal except for fewer people on the streets, and many shops were still open for business. People who live ordinary lives, nurtured by the sun and spring breeze, experience days unique to peaceful times. Those who have never faced harsh realities are unaware of the terror hidden in crises. Still worried, Dad insisted on going with Owen. Mom and I cautioned them to be careful, and then we watched from the window as they drove away. Back in the living room, we temporarily placed the dog on the landing between the first and second floors. The first floor was almost full of supplies, and the second floor had a lot of furniture and miscellaneous items, so this spot kept the dog not too far from us. Mom brought an old blanket and found a cardboard box, setting up a simple but cozy den for the dog and even made a hole in the box for it to enter and exit easily. Suddenly, Mom exclaimed softly, "This dog looks like it might be pregnant." I came over to check and indeed, compared to a normal dog, its belly was slightly swollen. If it was pregnant, taking care of it would undoubtedly become more challenging, but just to be safe and ensure the dog's survival, I quickly called Owen to share the news and asked him to try to find some items that might help with the dog's pregnancy and delivery. After settling the dog with fresh water and food and ensuring it had a private space to rest, we continued to prepare lunch. Unsure when Tan and the others would return, I proceeded with the meal I had prepared earlier. I was supposed to make braised beef with tomatoes, but ended up quickly stir-frying the beef with tomatoes instead. While cooking, I discussed with Mom, noting how intelligent the dog seemed. Although it hadn't fully trusted us yet, it seemed to understand that we were trying to help it. Staying calm and quiet, Mom said, "Well, let it be a stroke of luck then. We have enough supplies. Feeding it won't be an issue." About 2.5 hours later, it was already 1:30 p.m. Owen and Dad hadn't returned, and Mom and I started to worry. I sent them messages on their phones but got no replies. They were probably too busy to check. Calling them might disturb their shopping and hauling, so, with bated breath, we spent another anxious hour. Finally relieved when they returned, they drove home quickly, swiftly parking the car in the garage and only unloading their goods after closing the door. Mom and I went down to help. "The zombies have arrived," Owen said calmly. Though his breathing was slightly rapid and tense, Owen shared what he and Dad had witnessed in the city center. Passing by the train station, he saw the square in front of the station in disarray. On closer inspection, some people with odd expressions were wandering aimlessly across the square, resembling scenes from online videos. Owen immediately recognized these as early symptoms of a zombie virus infection, a virus that progresses rapidly, soon leading to a more aggressive stage of indiscriminate attacks. Witnessing this scene, they abandoned their plan to go to the last supply point and immediately turned around to head home. Mom and I listened in silence, feeling a sense of relief mixed with lingering fear. We had thought that in our remote little place, We could delay facing the impact of the zombie virus a bit longer. However, we overlooked how convenient transportation and free movement had long made it easy for everything, including viruses, to spread between regions. Fortunately, they noticed this situation in time. Otherwise, outnumbered and outmatched, they could have truly been in danger. But the trip wasn't without its gains. Owen and Dad not only bought several large bags of dog food but also stocked up on enough deworming medicine and other dog supplies, such as a dog toilet, toys, essential medications, and even lamb milk powder and bottles for hand-feeding puppies that might be needed after the birth. Owen is indeed a very meticulous person. I ran to several pet stores and veterinary clinics, many of which were closed. I bought back everything that might be useful. We decided to take care of this dog, even though it was an unexpected addition, but we genuinely wanted to provide the best care possible in these apocalyptic times, filled with dangers. It's unclear if the little dog can comprehend what's happening. We hope he can be lucky in this apocalypse and that our family can safely get through these tough times. Because of this wish, we named him Lucky. During this shopping trip, Owen also bought 3 high-spec drones and related accessories, as well as privacy films for the windows. Panting with the effort, Owen said, "I hadn't planned on buying drones, but I saw a store with a promotional poster while I was on my way to the pet hospital, and I bought all the stock they had." It was indeed a fortunate surprise. We almost missed this crucial equipment. Equipped with various sensors and cameras, the drones can serve as our eyes and arms, allowing us to observe the outside world without leaving home. If necessary, we can even use them to interfere with zombies to ensure our safety. Dad brought in a display screen and a computer mainframe, bought from the same store. It can be used to display surveillance 24/7. They didn't make it to the last wholesale market, but fortunately, supplies weren't our biggest concern since we had prepared adequately the day before. Our family secured all the safety locks on our home's steel doors, and Dad thoughtfully adjusted the car's position to park it perfectly. Moreover, we applied all the privacy films that Owen and Dad had risked purchasing. From inside, we could clearly see outside, but from outside, one couldn't see into our home, adding an invisible layer of protection. After lunch, my brother and I almost forgot to ask for leave from work, so we submitted our leave requests through the work system. Though it might not seem important anymore, since we remembered, we went ahead and applied anyway. Our requests remained unchecked. During dinner, the news reported on the devastation caused by the new virus. Various places had implemented measures, with citywide lockdowns instructing residents to stay indoors. Our city was no different. I casually picked up a bag of snacks and found it was my favorite brand of wafers, which suddenly lifted my spirits. The warm yellow light illuminated our home's dining and living rooms, with Dad washing dishes in the kitchen, Mom cracking seeds while watching the news, and Owen nowhere to be seen, likely gone to check on Lucky. I felt an unprecedented sense of security and warmth, as if it were not the apocalypse, but merely an ordinary holiday. We were gathered at home, enjoying simple joys, with nothing else to do. I went to play with Lucky and found Owen there, with Lucky already licking his hand, showing they were getting along well. "Big sis, why do you think we were reborn?" Owen pondered, puzzled. "If Mom, Dad, and I were reborn, why weren't you?" I smiled. Maybe I survived till the end. Though I said this, I still couldn't make sense of their experiences. If they are reborn, are there other reborn people in this world? I then thought of our uncle's family. If they are reborn, perhaps this time they would also stock up on supplies themselves. Their actions, compared to the last time, will there be any changes? Lucky is free from these worries. He is happily licking the canned dog food Owen bought for him. After eating, he looks at us with a silly smile. After playing with Lucky, I returned to my room to ponder the issues Owen and I discussed today. We must not underestimate the evil in human nature, and we should prepare for the worst. This time, we could take the initiative. After a week of uneventful confinement at home, we have gradually gotten used to not going out. No matter how chaotic it is outside, our home is like a small safe harbor. We stick to a regular schedule, and our biggest daily dilemma is, what's for lunch, what's for dinner, what's for breakfast tomorrow? Since we still have plenty of supplies, we keep making delicious meals. Now we have the time to make those dishes we craved but never had the time to cook. The whole family can join in. We took the time to bathe Lucky And his bed has been moved to our upstairs living room to enjoy the central heating with us. He is a very obedient dog, hardly ever barks, and is very smart. After just 4 days of dedicated training, he learned to relieve himself in designated spots. Looking at his clean, fluffy appearance, he hardly resembles a stray dog anymore, except for a bald spot from a skin condition. Mom was initially opposed to keeping a dog, but now she tenderly applies medication to him every day, hoping he will recover soon. Lucky has become very attached to my mom. Now, while she watches TV series on the couch, Lucky lies underneath, warming her feet. Every day, we observe the street through windows covered with privacy film, from the initial calm to the occasional appearance of zombies in the alley right in front of our house, and now more zombies wandering around. It's all happened within a week. As for the neighbors nearby, we haven't seen anyone leave their houses. Some might be away for work and not at home, or perhaps they are following the government's advice to stay indoors to ensure their safety. We can only assume. Our uncle's family next door is definitely home, although we haven't interacted with them. Their proximity always worries us. On the other side of our house is a vacant lot with some construction materials. Further away is the road, which is also where we mainly watch for zombies. The elderly couple in the 2-story house across from us are also always home. Occasionally, we can see their slow, staggering figures through the window, often standing and staring out. Their children live out of town and only return for the new year, but with the current situation and cities locked down, it's unlikely they can return now. Behind our building, there's a house with a yard where zombies clank against the iron gate. Some zombies try to climb over the low wall, and they have learned to stack up, almost succeeding. I munch on snacks while watching the zombies from the window. From initially being solitary shadows to now forming groups, their pale, pus-covered skin, blood-stained, lifeless eyes that seem blind, and their mouths dripping with blood as they stagger and halt, bumping into obstacles like walls to find their way. They rely on sound and smell to navigate. Before being infected with the virus, they were ordinary people like us. Now, they have turned into these horrific beings. Should we also feel fortunate that zombies are unconscious? It's quite pitiable to watch them constantly scavenging through trash for food. Last time, Uncle entered our house about half a month after the apocalypse began. Now, it's been a week since this apocalypse started. For our own protection, we also need to take some action. I call my family together, and we all sit around the couch. I share my idea. Mom and Dad, we should call Uncle now. 5. Mom and Dad are surprised and quickly ask why. Let's show some vulnerability and tell him we're running out of clothes and food, and we're on the brink of starvation. I won't do that, replies Dad, clearly upset. He hadn't been in contact with his uncle's family for 5 or 6 years. For him, reaching out to them was an act of seeking peace. Dad, you need to make this call, I explained patiently. It has to be you who calls, so they'll believe that our family really is at the end of its rope. I coached my father on what to say, sentence by sentence. After hearing my explanation, he finally agreed to my plan. He retrieved his mobile phone, held it far from his eyes, and squinted hard to find his brother's number in the contact list. After dialing, my father turned on the speakerphone. We waited in silence for the call to connect, the time feeling unusually long. Hello, my uncle's tone was unfriendly, but he answered the call. Hello, big brother. My father's voice trembled slightly from nervousness. How have you and my sister-in-law been lately? What do you want? My uncle clearly wasn't interested in exchanging pleasantries and didn't engage further. In a subdued voice, my father said, Big brother, I just wanted to ask if you have any spare food. The kids are really starving. We don't have any spare. We barely have enough ourselves. Don't bother me. My uncle snorted coldly and hung up the phone. I urged my father to try calling again, but this time my uncle did not answer. I nodded at my father and we exchanged a knowing smile, signaling that it was enough. The call wasn't long, but our main message had been conveyed. My uncle now knew that our family was out of supplies, and since my brother and I were home, he probably wouldn't target us first for looting. It's uncertain whether my uncle would consider us as hypothetical enemies in his scramble for supplies, increasing his precautions against us. Their heightened wariness towards us might actually be a good thing, making it more advantageous for us to strategize from a position of seeming weakness. Fortunately, our pretense of vulnerability was backed by strong material resources. That night, We enjoyed a hot pot meal. The weather had cooled down a bit, and the hot pot broth bubbled warmly, its aroma filling the air. Of course, we made sure to close the doors and windows tightly to keep the scent from escaping. The steam rose to the ceiling as we indulged in various fresh meats and vegetables, our happiness indescribable. From that night on, we began taking turns keeping watch. As zombies became more numerous and people's supplies gradually dwindled, our danger increased. Owen had modified the third-floor game room into a surveillance center, where the screens displayed live feeds from our 4 cameras around the clock. Drones, radios, and walkie-talkies were also placed in this area. The first few nights were uneventful, and we kept one person on watch while the rest of the family could sleep peacefully. On the 6th night of keeping watch, the 14th day since the zombie apocalypse began, the very day my uncle had invaded our home in a previous life, there was movement on the monitors. It was my turn to keep watch with Owen. I had just finished my shift and gone to bed when Owen woke me up. "Sis, come quick and take a look." Barely able to open my eyes, I threw on a coat and struggled to get up. On the monitor facing the empty lot, a few zombies staggered slowly, perhaps due to the cold weather. "Look here," my brother pointed to a corner of the screen. Through the night vision, we could clearly see 3 figures approaching the house of an elderly couple across the street. One of them used some tool to easily unlock the back door, while the other 2 carried items and looked around cautiously. The trio entered the elderly couple's home and moved out of the camera's range. Owen and I looked out the window again. The street lamps dimly lit the street, which was beyond the reach of any surveillance. After a while, we saw the old man's figure nearing the window of their second-floor room. Pushed along by someone else, the old man struggled forcefully but was clearly outmatched. "What should we do? They are in danger," I said anxiously. Owen seemed panicked as well. "Should we go and save them? But how?" I looked at him, both of us desperately trying to think of a way, but within seconds, the old man's body limply slid down the window. Then, we heard a faint thud as the old woman's body also fell, landing on him. They were dead, devoid of the breath of life. The light came on, and another man approached the window, seemingly checking on their condition. Suddenly, he sharply looked up, staring straight at our house through the window. A chill ran down my spine as our eyes met. It was my uncle. His gaze pierced through the window, his face cold under the moonlight. A shiver ran through me from head to toe. After a moment, I remembered we had installed a privacy film on our windows. Owen also saw him, and we both froze, afraid that any movement might reveal our presence through shifting shadows. His gaze eventually moved away and he left the window. Lights turned on in different parts of the elderly couple's house. Probably as my uncle's family searched for supplies, they emerged victorious, carrying various items back to their home. Since there was only a narrow alley between us and the zombies moved slowly in the winter, they encountered no attacks from them on their way. They moved stuff once, then went back for more. Witnessing such a massacre firsthand was more profound than hearing about it from my parents. Suddenly, a sharp whistle pierced the quiet of the night. A toy that lit up and sang was thrown into the middle of the road. Hearing the noise, the zombies suddenly quickened their pace. Guided by the sound, they swiftly gathered around the toy. My uncle's family, laden with food, only noticed the zombies when they were mere meters away. Advancing quickly, panicked, they threw the items at the zombies. The items hit a few, but the zombies were barely affected and quickly got back up. Even if they stumbled, my uncle and cousin took off running. My aunt was slower to react and was tackled by a zombie. She reached out, grabbing my uncle's trouser leg, seemingly yelling, "Wait," or "Save me," but my uncle forcefully kicked her hand away, forcing her to let go. As my uncle and cousin shut the door, my aunt was overwhelmed by the swarm. I turned away, exchanging a complex look with Owen. Owen gestured towards a spot, signaling me to look. A young girl around 8 or 9 years old stood at the window of the elderly couple's house, also looking in that direction. "That's their granddaughter." "Rose," Owen whispered. The little girl stood by the window for a long time, then crouched down to gently touch her grandparents, eventually starting to sob quietly. It seemed the toy was hers. She didn't usually live here, probably just staying temporarily, but the sudden outbreak had stranded her. We guessed that she might have hidden away upon hearing noises in the night, and realizing her grandparents were in danger. She didn't act rashly against the more powerful threat but instead looked for a chance to escape the danger. At such a young age, possessing such bravery and strategy is truly admirable. The frail girl trembled and wept continuously, having lost the protection of adults. While danger still loomed, how could she, so fragile and alone, overcome this difficult situation? Owen and I had just regained our composure from the incident when dawn began to break as Dad got up to take over from Owen. We both went back to catch up on some sleep. During breakfast, I told my parents about the events of the previous night. They strongly criticized my uncle's family and expressed their intention to keep a closer watch on the girl across the street. Aunt had disappeared from her usual spot after being surrounded by zombies last night, lying in the alley, and likely had become one herself, wandering off elsewhere. Peace lasted another 3 days, during which we kept an eye on the girl, who rarely appeared by the window anymore. There was no sign of my uncle's family. They were the type to bully the weak and fear the strong. Having fought closely with a horde of zombies, they were probably scared half to death. On the 17th day since the apocalypse began, early in the morning, Lucky started to whine uncomfortably. Lucky's belly was quite swollen. She began to nest, and we figured she was about to give birth. Our family immediately went into emergency mode. We moved Lucky to the home cinema on the 3rd floor, which had better soundproofing. Mom went to prepare warm blankets, newspapers, towels, and other necessary items. Dad started to prepare vegetable broth to help Lucky stay energized during labor. Owen brought out the goat's milk powder and other supplies we had bought, and I moved a heater to keep Lucky warm, constantly looking up tips on dog birthing on my phone, worried that being surrounded might scare and stress her, preventing her from giving birth. We all stepped back and kept a close watch while pretending to be busy. Lucky breathed rapidly, and after about an hour, the head of the first puppy appeared. Lucky, in pain, began to whimper again. Seeing that the puppy was not coming out easily, Mom immediately sanitized her hands and helped pull the puppy out. Following the tips online, I instructed Mom to tear open the amniotic sac and pinch off the umbilical cord, after which Lucky would handle the rest. We cleaned the puppy's mouth, nose, and body with a towel and placed it next to Lucky to nurse. The first puppy was born successfully, and the next 2 followed more smoothly without any issues. Lucky gave birth to 3 puppies, each with different coat patterns, one mostly black, another mostly white, and one spotted. They clung tightly to their mother, eagerly suckling their first taste of milk in this world. By the time everything was done, it was past 2 in the afternoon. Lucky was exhausted, and we were dizzy with hunger. Fortunately, the birth went smoothly. We went to cook some food and let them rest properly. Dad, unable to leave Lucky alone, stayed by their side with a bowl in hand. In our moments of relaxation, we couldn't help but worry about the girl in the building opposite. Was she still living with her grandparents' corpses? What was she eating and drinking? We convened another family meeting to discuss whether to help the girl. Despite various concerns, the goodness of human nature ultimately prevailed. We couldn't stand by and watch someone die, especially not a helpless, pitiful orphaned girl. The decision was made to help her come to our house. We had considered using a drone to deliver supplies, but the risk was too great. It might work once or twice, but repeated attempts would surely draw attention. Since the ground floor was no longer accessible, we devised a plan to remove the anti-theft bars from a fire escape window on our 2nd floor, which could be accessed by a girl of 8 or 9, by setting up a ladder. The girl could climb across from her 2nd floor window to ours. This method, of course, had its risks, and we prepared safety measures for the girl. In doing so, if our actions were discovered by others, our own household situation would also be exposed. Meanwhile, we still needed to get the girl's consent. However, we decided to take a gamble. How could we contact the girl? Dad suggested that the grandparents' old phone might have the number of the elderly couple across the street. We found their phones among the belongings, unsure if they still worked. With a try-and-see attitude, we charged the phones. Once the screen lit up, we tried operating it and found it still usable. We searched the address book for the elderly couple's names and found their number. Now the last hurdle remained. We didn't know if the elderly couple's phone still had battery, or if the girl would even receive the call. After several attempts, we finally got through, and I spoke with the girl. "Hello, little sister. This is Rebecca from across the street." Rebecca, sister, the little girl's voice was sweet. "Hey, your grandparents asked us to take care of you in case of an emergency." I lied, hoping it might ease her concerns. "My grandparents didn't tell me about this. I'll ask my parents." The little girl was still wary but rational. "Okay, can you call me back later?" Do your grandparents' phones still have battery? Can you find the charger? Let's keep in touch. I made arrangements with the little girl. In the evening, the little girl called us back. She was very sad. Rebecca, sister, I can't reach my parents. Rose, now it's up to you to decide. Don't be afraid. I will protect you. I spoke with Rose for a long time, finally convincing her to climb over using a ladder. Without delay, we prepared a safety rope and threw it over for Rose to tie around her waist, with the strongest among us, Owen, holding tightly to one end just in case. After guiding Rose on how to set up the ladder, my father steadied it, signaling her to start climbing. Rose was young but brave. She bit her lip and carefully moved, hand and foot, inching her way across. The zombies in the alley below, sensing the presence of the living, gathered around. Rose, hurry, I yelled anxiously. The zombies began to stack up, climbing higher and higher, but Rose grew more nervous, her hands trembling on the ladder. Unable to move, a decayed hand grabbed her ankle, and she screamed. The decayed hand didn't stop because of her fear. Instead, it pulled harder. Move away, my mother, finding a long shovel from somewhere, swiftly and fiercely thrust it through the security bars, smacking the decayed hand, forcefully flipping it away. The hand detached from Rose, the shovel forcefully jabbed towards the zombies, causing the ones on top to lose balance, fall, and crash into those below, their stacked formation collapsing. Rose then sped up, scrambling towards us. When I finally grabbed Rose's hand, my heart settled. Her eyes were red, possibly from fear or nervousness, her breathing rapid, her clothes dirty, and her stomach rumbling with hunger. At dinner, she ate heartily, finishing 2 full bowls of rice. After dinner, we continued to softly comfort her for a long time, ensuring she felt well fed, cared for, and safe here. He slipped and fell. That night, she slept with me. My dad, on a whim, dug out the exercise books from my and my brother's elementary school days from the bottom of the trunk to give Rose something to pass the time, earning the rolling eyes of everyone. Rose, feel free to watch TV, play on the computer, read books, or study while you're here, I said, patting her on the shoulder. Thank you, uncle, aunt, sister, brother. Rose replied politely. Another calm 5 days passed, bringing liveliness to our home. Lucky's 3 puppies often amused us but also caused some annoyances. They cried loudly, alerting everyone that they were hungry. Lucky quietly walked away. She seemed not ready to be a mother yet, so we took over the duty. Fortunately, Owen had last bought lamb milk powder and small bottles, and we fed them every few hours according to the guide. Since watching over them at night was boring, the puppies added some fun. That night, there was noise again from next door. A sudden citywide blackout plunged us into endless darkness. A sudden heavy rain made the night even more perilous. We had prepared 4 generators and some pre-charged batteries in advance. 3 were solar-powered and would only work when the sun came out, while another, a bicycle converted into a manual generator, could solve our immediate problem but needed time to adjust and had limited power output. Shortly after we were plunged into darkness, Lucky came scratching and barking at my door. Since the surveillance had failed, we had not kept watch. I had a bad feeling and woke everyone up one by one. We all headed to the sports room on the 4th floor and opened the door to the terrace. As expected, something was happening. My uncle and cousin, taking advantage of the blackout and rain, were using tools to destroy the electric fence my father had installed. They were surprised to see so many of us. You're still alive, my uncle scoffed. When you called me last time, I knew you were just pretending, talking about having no food. I bet you've hidden plenty. No worries, your end is near, my cousin chimed in. Although the electric fence was disabled, the sturdy burglar bars my father had installed effectively blocked them. If you want to live, let us in. We're family after all. And I don't want to take things too far. Seeing their frustration, I couldn't help but laugh. Letting them in would be a real death wish. My uncle put on protective gear and a safety rope, preparing to risk climbing over. My cousin, supporting him from behind, held a bow and arrow he got from somewhere, aiming through the gaps in the bars at us. We hid behind the door, and everyone seemed to have agreed to prepare. Only Lucky tirelessly barked at the intruders. We were worried about it getting hurt, so we temporarily blocked it and had Rose watch over Lucky and the puppies. My uncle moved to the side, planning to bypass the area without debris. Seeing us scared and hiding, he climbed over more confidently. Suddenly, Owen rushed out and threw a bucket of lubricant oil over the bars. Seeing our movement, my cousin immediately released the arrow, but he couldn't use the bow properly. The arrow just fell straight to the ground, his bluff exposed. My cousin looked embarrassed. I grabbed a box of firecrackers, long forgotten when they were purchased, lit them, and threw them at my uncle. The firecrackers burst open on him with loud pops. My mom took out a chain, prepared at some unknown time, and started swinging it near my uncle, occasionally hitting him, painful and unable to dodge, and unable to grasp the lubricated bars. My uncle lost his grip and fell. He fell off the balcony. However, the safety line holding his life taut prevented him from plummeting directly to the ground. The other end of the rope was tied around his cousin's waist, who was also jerked toward the edge of the balcony by the sudden force. "Hurry up and pull me up," his uncle shouted to his cousin, reacting to the urgency. The cousin struggled to grasp the rope tightly, but it was impossible for him alone to pull the uncle up. My dad brought over a fishing rod, dangling pieces of rapidly thawing meat down to the first floor. The scent of the meat immediately attracted a horde of zombies, who approached swiftly. As the zombies gathered, my dad skillfully maneuvered the fishing rod, gradually moving it closer to the uncle and slowly raising the dangling meat. The zombies started to climb on top of each other, suspended in midair. The uncle could do nothing but curse in frustration. Seeing the pile of zombies grow taller and about to reach his feet, the uncle attempted to shift his position, but his movements caused his cousin to sway dangerously. Gradually losing his strength, the cousin started to panic. Continuing to hold on seemed like it would only result in him falling as well. They weren't very high up. The cousin was tiptoeing on the edge, but half of his body was being pulled out. After struggling for a long time, it seemed he had exhausted his strength. "Dad, I'm sorry," the cousin gritted his teeth and untied his end of the safety line. "You wretched child," his uncle exclaimed, just as he hit the ground. The loud crash and the fresh scent of a human attracted the zombies, causing the makeshift zombie tower to collapse, and they swarmed over. The recoil from stepping back caused the cousin to fall backwards, hitting his head on the tool they had earlier used to break the balcony rail. Bright red blood spilled from the back of his head. His eyes were wide open and his mouth slightly agape, motionless. My dad cut the fishing line, and the pieces of meat dropped swiftly, drawing the zombies in that direction. Holding a long shovel, my mom remarked wistfully, "I didn't even get to use this tool." My younger brother, holding a pot of boiling water, nodded in agreement, saying, "Same here." Regardless, the uncle's death had lifted the crisis he had caused us. We relied on our abundant supplies to live a secluded life at home. However, as power outages began, the situation in the world grew increasingly chaotic. With power and water outages, disasters, diseases, and deaths, despair enveloped human society. Humans ultimately failed to control the zombies. With no more production in human society, although we tried to grow some vegetables to sustain ourselves, it couldn't keep up with the rate at which we were using supplies. We didn't receive any rescue and grew more disappointed by the day. Our supplies ran out, and in a society overrun by zombies, we had no means or conditions for long-term survival. We died in the third winter after the zombie apocalypse began. I woke up in a laboratory. 2 years of darkness due to the power outage had made me accustomed to the night. Seeing the brightly lit scene again felt unfamiliar. Waking up here, I felt no fear. I took a moment and slowly came to realize this was the past, my previous life. To be precise, it was my only life. I am a survivor of the zombie apocalypse, now in the 13th year since it began. The days and nights spent with my parents, younger brother, Rose, Lucky, and the puppies, every meal shared in hardship, each other's encouragement and morale boosting, the laughter and despair we shared, were all part of an experiment. But the cause of death of my parents and brother was indeed real. As members of our organization investigated and informed me, in the present world, there are countless zombies, but even more terrifying, ambitious scientists have mastered a technology to control and domesticate zombies, implanting a unified consciousness in these virus-infected, mindless beings, turning them into tools and aids. This technology was also misused by certain powers, leading some scientists to become rulers who established legions of zombies, thereby stripping others of their freedom and rights. I can't clearly remember how I survived the chaos, but I do recall that the organization saved me in the nick of time. Since then, in order to preserve life, I have been following the actions of the organization. The organization is also a global entity, and we vehemently oppose those rulers who control zombies, hoping to save humanity and the zombies, and to restore society to its former trajectory. Our scientists have worked for years and have solved the problem of consciousness traversal. The experiment is now in the testing phase, with unknown risks and effects. Its code name is Return to 3202. I am part of the third group of test subjects, along with a few other volunteers, returning to the moment before the apocalypse struck. Our experiment failed, a familiar voice said. No, the experiment was successful, another calm, authoritative voice responded. I saw the lead professor and his students standing around the experimental bed. According to our data monitoring, the death times of the experimenters' family members have changed compared to before the experiment. The professor continued, this is the butterfly effect caused by the experiment. The experimenters went back and changed the survival conditions of their families. Several doctors came over with equipment to examine me and nodded at the professor. Also, in this experiment, none of the experimenters were injured or killed, the professor said, his body coughing heavily from his constant hard work. Cough, cough, cough. This means that the experiment was successful, Professor, but the state of the zombie apocalypse has hardly changed, the leader said. Puzzled, the professor looked up at the leader, his eyes old yet resolute. Next, we will move from a small pilot to involving the entire populace. By having everyone participate in consciousness traversal and going back, we can maximize our impact. The leader nodded. Understood. This is very important. We'll go back and discuss the details of the plan. As the group dispersed from the room, I remained sitting on the experimental bed while the professor's students asked and recorded various questions about the consciousness traversal. Sis, you're awake. I trembled at hearing this voice. Owen, you're here too. I saw the tall boy who entered the room, his expression joyful. Yeah, sis, I woke up earlier than you. I remembered, during the apocalypse, how Owen stubbornly refused to eat, and I watched helplessly as he took his last breath, leaving the last bit of food for me. After I woke up, I came to check on you every day, but we couldn't come in until your experiment was over. Owen helped me stand up and asked, how are you feeling? Are you hungry? Mom and Dad are eating in the cafeteria. I asked them to pack something for you, feeling quite hungry after stopping the nutrient solution. I nodded. Owen, I still don't quite understand. What is it? Did we experience the same apocalypse? I remember Lucky, Rose, Uncle. Yes, that's right. So why did you and Mom and Dad know about the apocalypse from the start and stock up, while I didn't know? And why, in this life's memory, are you all gone? You were killed by zombies in the subway, and Mom and Dad were killed by Uncle. My head felt dizzy, because, sis, this time your experiment was part of the new group's forgotten experiment. Owen explained. We indeed died, but sister, you participated in every experiment. In the first two experiments, you knew about the apocalypse from the start and saved me and our parents. That's why we're still alive now. The Forget group was tasked with teaching them about the newly proposed concepts. Not everyone retains their memories after consciousness traversal, especially children. The world of zombies is too terrifying and could leave them with indelible psychological scars. So, sister, when you entered this experiment, you didn't know it was the apocalypse and you forgot many things that happened after the zombie apocalypse began. It turns out that with each experiment, the content grew more extensive. Owen's mood gradually turned sorrowful. Sister, you're so naive. There were casualties in the first two experiments. I can't bear to think what I would do if it were you. I looked at his naive expression and hugged him with a smile. Return to 3202. The success of the third experiment meant that the plan for all of humanity's consciousness to traverse was pushed forward to keep ambitious rulers from learning of our plans and taking action. We raced against time itself. Professors and students worked tirelessly, refining the technology. Leaders mobilized covertly around the world, ensuring all survivors understood and accepted joining this great battle against the zombie world, and organized staff to train them for post-traversal consciousness, informing people of their roles. Intelligence and undercover groups found ways to block the transmission of our plans to ambitious rulers, buying time and space for our plans. Execution. We ordinary people, unsure if we could witness the success of the great battle, knew the results of the plan for all survivors to traverse consciousness were unpredictable and that the world could change in unforeseen ways. Thus, we treasured the days of living and gathering more than ever. Finally, the day the plan commenced arrived, and laboratories worldwide initiated the consciousness traversal. Once again, my parents, brother, and I returned to the day the apocalypse began, this time only going out to buy essential food and supplies. Like everyone else, unbeknownst to us, governments worldwide had begun to unite to stop the spread of the zombie virus and control the infected zombies. The nation locked down most resources, and people could buy limited amounts at convenience stores. After 3 days, resources would be distributed uniformly to ensure every household had sufficient necessities and food, with electricity supplied normally. Factories operated at full speed to guarantee the production of various materials, and transport networks remained smooth to prevent any public panic due to shortages, since many people had undergone training before traversing. Apart from those who turned into zombies in the previous world, everyone cooperated actively. Only by uniting could we overcome the difficulty and avoid returning to the terrifying zombie apocalypse of the past. Thus, we smoothly got through the initial stage of the zombie apocalypse. Countries also closely monitored ambitious scientists, preventing them from controlling zombies through technology and causing turmoil. Thanks to the national rationing system and the continuous production of resources, people stayed home comfortably for a while, giving governments space to search for and relocate zombies in public areas. After intense technological breakthroughs, a cure for the zombie virus was developed. This meant that those who had become zombies could, after some time, be treated and return to normal. Humanity united like never before, nipping the dreadful future in the bud. By controlling the number of infections from the start and actively treating them, the zombie legions never posed a threat to human society. Under the slogan, "Saving Zombies is also saving our families," countries organized and planned deep operations to rescue those zombies held captive and destroy the lairs of the evil ambitious scientists. The zombie apocalypse was smoothly and gradually resolved with the close and orderly cooperation of various countries, allowing humanity to see the world's dawn once again. Finally, the Spring Festival holiday arrived, and I fought through the ticket rush during the spring transportation period, happily boarding the train home. Dad picked me up at the station. "Rebecca, over here." I ran to the car, dragging my luggage, and sat in the passenger seat. The streets were bustling, and the market was full of people buying New Year goods. Shops along the road played festive New Year songs through loudspeakers, familiar tunes we had grown up listening to. I saw the professor on the big screen in the city center, being honored as one of the world figures for his outstanding achievements in a grand hall. Back at home, the warm air enveloped me as I entered, and Lucky, excited, pounced on me, wagging his tail frantically. My brother carried my luggage back to my room, and Mom, busy in the kitchen, greeted me with the familiar aroma of my favorite dish. Lucky's puppies had all gone to reliable new homes, and my parents still saw them often when walking the dog. Many neighbors have also returned home for the New Year celebration. I saw Rose being brought back by her parents, warmly greeted by her grandparents at the door, all of them laughing and chatting as they went upstairs together. From her room on the second floor, she spotted me on the balcony, enthusiastically waving at me. The children undergo a form of consciousness travel that erases memories, so she likely has no recollection of her previous apocalyptic experiences. This is for the better. Without the memories of that dark world, she won't remember the brutal carnage and can grow up more peacefully and comfortably. Uncle's house seemed deserted. The specifics are unknown, but they might have sold the house and moved away, likely never to be seen again. The table was set with a delicious and aromatic New Year's Eve dinner. Our family of 4 harmonized with the background music of the Spring Festival Gala and the occasional beautiful fireworks lighting up the sky. Wisely choosing not to dwell on past despair and hardships, on this New Year's Eve, a night of family reunion, we talked and laughed, showing care for each other. It's wonderful, indeed, marking the end of one year and the beginning of another.